show, right?
Well, so
I just want to say I really like your garb. I don't know why I say garb, but I like the aesthetic. That's what I'm saying.
I appreciate
Garb.
90
Okay. I really like your garb. Like,
That gets me.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Rem's like, wow, so ethnic.
wow.
Oh god.
No.
I think the word you're looking for is exotic.
Wow.
No.
This is my
I'm
ethnic.
trying to say that Rem's white, that's why.
all right. I think we're all here, so we can go ahead and start with like intros if people want to. That's probably a good place to start. Anyone want to go first?
Probably. Yeah.
Fine, I'll go first. If nobody else wants to.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And then I'll go, and then the guest can go. How about that? Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Dr. Leon Cyphers, but you can all call me Leon. I do. This is the Mind Cyphers podcast. This is our second episode, so I do this on Fridays. And then Mondays, I do another podcast, just open podcast, so I get a lot of small streamers, which is really fun.
Are you an actual doctor?
I am. I just finished my PhD this month.
In what?
Technology management with emphasis in digital communications.
Good shit.
Question, if your
Congratulations.
spouse-
Yeah,
Holy
congrats,
shit.
buddy. I don't think I ever congratulated on you that you won that.
If your
Guys,
spouse
you
is
don't
a
need to
wife-
clap. You don't need to clap. There is a clap. Oh, it's a wave. No, there's a clap. There's a clap in this.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
That's
If your
easy
spouse
and
is a
quiet.
wife, do you
Please,
get
please
to
no
that.
longer clap.
do you get
I
to say
wanna
that you're
do
like
that.
Mr. and
Oh.
Mrs. something? Doctor and Doctor.
Pixies, I just blew Pixie's whole fucking world apart.
Yeah, you did. I'm actually only gonna communicate through these tonight. I'm sorry, guys.
Awesome.
Good. I think that's about it. I may or may not be running for office, but that's still yet to be seen. And I'll update when I figure that out. Thank
Where
you
do
for
I
the thumbs
send?
up.
How do I send an emote?
At the very bottom, there's a chat button.
Don't educate.
Yeah,
the,
but
the
I
boomers
see
will
it.
take us over.
But I don't
if we
see
don't,
where
if
you
we don't
put
leave
an
them in the
emote.
dark. You have to leave him in the dark. He has to learn on his own.
Oh wait, I figured
Teach a
it
man
out.
to fish. Teach a man
Wait,
to
no, I
fish.
didn't.
Leon.
Tell me, how do I do it?
Teach a man to fish.
You
Wait.
that's not how you do it.
Close.
No.
Again, you're warm.
Oh man.
Typing
warm.
wave in the chat. Come on, Ram. Come on, Ram.
It's actually slash wave.
It isn't.
Wow, debate one. Synth wins.
Debate one.
Wait, maybe it's.
Fucking.
Oh wait. Okay.
Oh, Dave.
I can't figure it
This
out.
is a different emote.
I
Some
give
Dave's
up.
in chat.
I give up. I don't know.
It's fine. You
Yeah,
got about
leave
you got
leave
3
him in
or
the
4
dark. Leave
hours
him
to
in the
figure
dark.
it out.
Leave him in the dark. Just no one tell him, please.
Wait.
Okay.
I'm gonna figure it out.
Don't share our power with him.
Okay.
Wait. Here we go. Fuck! I had it. I thought I had it.
It's not
How
the
the
way
fuck?
I was
I'm clicking help.
describing it.
I'm clicking the help button. Instant answers. Emote. No help. They don't. Okay, I have to. Oh, there's a live chat. Start a conversation. No, it's an email, but they'll respond within a few hours. So knowing how long these take, I am quite certain I can find out. How do I use emotes? remthebathboy@gmail.com. To whom it may concern, I am currently utilizing your platform for entertainment purposes because I simply
Rem, hover your finger over your fucking cursor over where it says chat in the bottom of your screen. Okay, there you go.
I thought we weren't gonna.
Thanks, Dan.
No, it doesn't do anything.
Oh, well, you're
does.
broken though.
Oh, I don't know what to tell you then.
Take your mouse cursor down to the bottom where you have the cam and microphone and share and chat setting. You know, I don't care. Fucking deal without emotes, Ram. If you're too.
So I've sent a message. I've sent a message to them, and they say we're on it. You'll receive an email reply within a few hours.
Wait, are you serious? That was an insanely quick response.
So we'll see, and hopefully by the end of this
person sent that,
podcast,
Rem? Do you think they're actually on it in a few hours?
I don't know. We'll see. Otherwise, I'll never be able to use whereby again because they lied to my face. Oh.
Okay. Mindwaves, do you want to continue with intros?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
As top tier
no,
content
let's do
that
intros. Yeah. Well, hopefully, I hope Rem figures out how to use emotes.
Yeah.
Well, Rem already did his
yeah.
intro, so we're good, right? I mean,
Is that Rem's intro?
Yeah. So yeah, guys, I'm Mindwaves. I do these shows, I guess. I do the Big Brain podcast on Tuesdays, and I do this show, The Mind Ciphers, with Leon on Fridays now. And I do politics, and yeah, follow me, something. Yeah, Mindwaves TV on Twitch. Yeah, that one. Also, thanks all the guests for coming here. Yeah, that too.
Oh yeah, I should have said that.
Also, who wants to go next?
North, you're
North,
right.
go ahead. It's all you, buddy.
I'm
All
North.
you.
I'm North. People tell me that I'm not, but I'm actually, I actually control the powers of the arcane in real life. You know, I'm a IRL wizard. So, yeah, I also play a lot of classic WoW. I also probably am deranged. I
you know
do not do
magic?
politics stream. Yeah, real
you
life. Like I can look at this. This water
So you can defy the
Conjured.
very laws of nature?
conjured laws of physics, not nature. There are no laws in nature.
Oh, I thought you could
you
help
not-
a
have you not-
communist
have you
out or
not
an
read
anarchist out.
Smith? Hello.
Damn,
Thought you were
you just
philosophy
owned Rem in a
major, bud.
debate. Easy
Yeah,
clap.
debate own. Check. I'm also the smartest man to play World of Warcraft. Obviously.
Have you met
a
Athene?
studied
I don't
wizard.
know, man.
Athene has 3 IQ compared to me, and I'm a certified genius master mage, and I stream at twitch.tv/NorthTheMage. I don't do political streams though. I literally just come on these because they're fun. So
It's fun
I literally just
to
play classic WoW all day long, and like if you looked at my room, it's just covered in fucking takeout bags because I'm ranking to 14. I'm a complete fucking degenerate. So
Like a true gamer, dude. Hell yeah.
Darn right.
My
I'm
man.
the only gamer here. Let's be honest.
Excuse me? Do you see my mess?
What you can see the floor, Pixie. So no,
Yeah,
I
you
cannot.
can actually see the floor. You're good.
Yeah, I'm a gamer.
You can see the floor. There's no stains on your current clothing, right? Your eyes are not bloodshot from being in Alterac Valley for 14 hours at a time. So no, I cannot. Sorry, I'm gatekeeping now. All right.
That's my job. Thank you very much.
I think we're gonna have to see a Pixie and North one on one in like Minecraft or something, like a 1v1.
Minecraft
That's
PvP.
the only way
I'll
to
need to
settle who's the
practice.
true gamer in this
I need to
situation.
practice. I haven't played Minecraft since I was like fucking 14. What
I only play
what do you want
Fortnite.
from me?
Fortnite. Okay.
Oh,
I would.
All right, calm
sooner-
down,
I would
Zoomers.
sooner-
All right,
I
chill.
would sooner fucking vomit in a bag and then shower in one of those like bag showers with the vomit than.
Well, speaking of Zoomers,
Oh,
Cynthia,
yeah.
do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Nice.
They're gonna say, speaking of a bag of vomit.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Rim.
No, I'm not.
Chill.
I wasn't.
Damn,
no.
chill, Rip. Damn.
Sorry.
Shots fired.
Yeah, I'm the Cynthia. I do games, politics, philosophy stuff. I do a philosophy podcast every Thursday at 10 p.m. EST because Leon was nice enough to give me his time slot, or I just kind of took it.
I didn't know this.
And yeah,
It's good.
I mean, okay. Yeah, my bad.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Wait. If I messaged you, would you have come on?
What do you think? Do you think me? What am I? Do you think me 70 viewer? Oh, I'm just too big for you or something?
Look. Okay. I mean,
There are
What
some
do we
people
do?
who would
Like,
say
we
that.
get the
I'll
rate
console
on
my
fucking,
schedule.
like, night
I'll
one.
try to squeeze you in. I mean, what do you think I am?
yeah.
When I
Alright, yeah.
messaged Rem to come on the show, he's like, "Ugh, I guess I'll roll around with the pigs and the plebeians." Jesus.
I can't believe people actually have this perception that I'm like some big, massive streamer or something. I don't know why.
Dude,
Maybe because I'm, but West. Well, no, West has a ton of viewers too. I don't know.
I
Straight
don't
up
know.
ignored me twice.
You're very visible. That's the thing.
Well,
Rem.
no,
It's-
I didn't. Well, I've been
Yeah.
off for the past 3 weeks because of exams, so I haven't gone on anything. Yeah. So this is my first podcast back.
Oh, that's cute.
Hell yeah.
Then
Welcome back.
I mean, you
Boomer.
wouldn't have come on to the last two because they would have been. Yeah, welcome back. They would have been during your exams, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go.
Rem doesn't have an excuse
I mean,
now,
yeah, you're
though.
invited, my dude. I mean, I'd love to have you on.
Sounds good.
Pog.
But
All
yeah,
the philosophy
uh,
nerds are pogging in the chat, I'm sure.
All three of them.
Oh yeah. All three of them, and they're the only ones in this call. Yeah. Go follow me, Twitch, GD Cynthia.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, Synth. Next is Puffshake. Go ahead.
Oh, hey everybody, I'm Puffshake. I'm a lefty politics Twitch guy. I'm kind of small. If people know me for anything, it's probably for my pretty good takes on gender. I don't know. That's about it. You can find me at puffshake.soy.
Weird flex.
Nice.
Wait, .soy?
Yeah, there it is right there on my name card.
Awesome.
There's no way.
No, it's
No
real.
way.
It actually is my URL. Yeah.
You can
Oh,
look.
no.
I have my URL too.
Puffshake.
What
That's
the-
soy. Does that actually work?
.com's not as cool as .soy.
Oh, it redirects automatically to Puffshake. Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
But how do you get a website to do that? That's sick. I want to do
Just gotta
that.
get like domain hosting. It costs a little bit of money, but I'm doing it through Google for it's like $20 a year. It's not that bad.
Oh, nice.
$20 a year
All of
for a
us
flex
has
like that?
$20
Hell yeah.
to spend.
Easy, right? Easy choice.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Puff.
no
If
problem.
there's
Thanks for
any
having me. I
gender
appreciate
issues,
it.
well, I'll make sure to consult you.
Okay,
the
sounds
expert.
good.
All right.
Hopefully, I'll have takes on things besides gender as well, since I don't think that'll be coming up super often.
All right. Awesome. I'm really important. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you guys for inviting me. I go by I'm Really Important. We talk politics on my channel, focusing on the 2020 races and what's going on Capitol Hill. Tomorrow, I'm going to be live streaming from a Bernie rally with AOC.
Awesome.
So it's going to be awesome. I'll be there about an hour early interviewing people and talking to people afterwards too. So it should be a lot of fun.
Nice. That's awesome. Hell yeah. Nice. Hell yeah. Rem, I guess that means it's you.
I feel like I hijacked it for a little bit. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's good.
I'm Rem the Bath Boy with an I. I do philosophy stuff and yell about how leftists should read philosophy a lot. And I guess I'm known for talking to Destiny and stuff on the Rod Royale. And yeah, that's me.
Oh yeah. Thanks for coming, Rem. Dan, what's up, my dude?
Hey, I'm Dan. You can find me at twitch.tv/Harkdan. And, I don't do too much politics, a little bit. I'm mostly a tech entrepreneur who has an interest in Twitch, things along those lines. And yeah, that's it for the most part.
Nice. That's awesome. Gushin, I guess that's you then.
Sure. I'm Gushin. I am predominantly a YouTuber and a streamer second. I have a total of 6 years of university behind me, but only 2 years of that actually matters right now. And yeah, I mostly do politics, sociology, gender theory as well, to a degree. Yeah.
Did you end up switching majors or?
I've got a 2-year philosophy degree that I dropped out of. I have a 2-year history/classics degree I dropped out of, and I'm currently doing a 2 years into a media and sociology degree.
Why did you drop out of philosophy?
Because it was fucking boring.
I see.
Big surprise, yeah. Hey, well, that's actually really cool.
I mean, I don't disagree, so.
I
Yeah, those-
disagree, but you need the right professors. If you have the wrong professors, it's gonna be boring as fuck.
Yeah, true.
Well, I mean,
feel
you
like
have
that's
to,
true for a lot
you
of
have to
things,
find
yeah.
the right area. Like, I find certain areas of philosophy boring as, all hell, but, others I find super interesting. So.
Nice. Well, hey, thanks for coming on, Gushin. It's good to see you again. Pxie, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Pxie. I talk politics. I usually wake up from a nap right before I go on these or from stream. I had a nightmare of Bernie Sanders right before I woke up, and it was terrifying. And now I'm here.
Oh no, what was the nightmare?
Yeah.
It was so stressful. I had a nightmare that like Bernie Sanders outside of the debates is like completely incompetent and doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's like an old man. So he asked me to be his campaign manager, and I was just stressing out because I was like, how do you act like competent on stage but so like useless out of it? What do I do? So that was my nightmare.
It's probably kind of what managing a
Nice.
Joe Biden campaign is like.
True. Got him. Everybody clap. There we go. Good joke.
Thanks.
All right. Yeah.
That's kind of
Hey,
a.
there we go.
Please clap.
Please clap. I don't think Mindwaves did a clap.
I can't do a clap.
Please clap.
Did I not? What did I do?
You wait.
You waved. What are you doing?
Rem, cursor over chat. It should show up with an overlay of all the emotes that you can do.
Look, it doesn't. Okay, I've tried. Saying it over and over doesn't help. I've sent them an email and I patiently await their response.
Are you
You
the
know what
older
it is? They
one?
probably don't have the new whereby in Canada yet. That could be it.
Oh, really?
Oh.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't know. It's a hypothesis.
The whereby.
All right. Well, with that being said, Leon, what was the first topic you wanted to touch tonight?
I mean, we got a lot of topics. One thing I want to throw out really fast. I've got people are in chat there saying they want to vote at the end of this to see who won the debate. So we might
Sorry,
open up.
you cut out there for me.
Yeah, me too.
My chat is people are asking they want to apparently vote to see who won the debate at the end of this.
Oh,
So
Pog.
Oh.
yeah, don't log off before I make a straw poll and distribute it. We'll see.
What's the fucking Raj Royale?
Is
Well,
this
they-
Roger Royale?
they actually
did
ask
Politics
for that
Hey,
too.
vote keep not
but-
kick, guys. Keep not kick.
Can I get a watch at the
no.
end too?
I'll watch. I can tell you what. Whoever wins, I'll gift a single sub in their channel. How about that?
Yeah, we're working
I
on
need
sponsors.
enemies.
All right. Yeah.
That's the
We do
best I
like
can do.
democratic
High.
debates where like we get like see who spoke the most, you know, who was doing the best approval rating wise going in,
True.
who had a wine cellar
talked the
meeting with
most.
40 billionaires, you know, the standard.
No, we can actually go into the debate if people want to. I thought that wine cellar argument was actually really good.
What it made me want to do is get a wine cellar for myself. I was like, now that's a goal on the list. Now I'm gonna have like a $900 wine in a cave with what was it? Something crystals.
Do you think wine
Savorkian.
stocks went up at all?
Yeah, big wine.
Big wine, yeah.
No,
I thought he responded very well to that, though. Like, I hate Mayo Pete, whatever. I don't think he's a very good candidate. But he hit back hard by like calling out Warren, like in her hypocrisy or whatever.
Why?
So I-
Why is the Mayo Pete a thing? Why? I've been seeing that in the last few days. Why?
It's
Why
because
is
he's
that a
very
thing?
white and
The
vanilla.
whitest dude alive.
Yeah, he's just very mayonnaise-y, like, right? Like, it's...
It's not just that he's white; it's also that he's boring. I think that's probably the
Like,
joke.
we've all seen the Panic at the Disco fucking high hopes Mayo Pete dance, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he is very
Unfortunately.
vanilla. Yeah.
but who do you guys think won that debate?
I think Amy Klobuchar won that debate last night.
Same. Yeah,
Thank
I think she
you.
did really well.
Same.
Now I'm not happy to say it, but like
Oh yeah, Klobuchar sucks, but she did great. She did a good job.
That's the only reason she's in the race still is because she has been doing really well at debates.
I thought she
Really?
did kind of bad in the last one. Like in the last one, she was like very shaky and stuff. But in this one, she just like I don't know what happened. I don't know what changed, but I felt like she came in to kill it.
I don't know about the previous ones. Like I've seen the highlights from this one. So I haven't really seen the whole things, but like in every previous debate I've seen, Amy Klobuchar has been absolute garbage. Like they said, like they've said nothing except, hey, we all need to let's stop attacking each other and work together to fight Trump, and then just like dropping occasional jokes that make nobody in the crowd laugh, and just like awkward silences for like 2 seconds after she says them. Just
But
I
she's
fucking hate appeals to like civility politics. It's the most cringe thing in the world.
Oh,
But
for
it's
sure, yeah.
it's obviously working because she's raised money and she keeps coming up in the polls.
Isn't she still
So
below Bloomberg polling wise though? Like I thought
well,
she was like 4%, 5% still.
she's got a lot more aggregate than that guy, but I mean he's come in like 5% in a couple of polls.
I mean, she's apparently doing better than Cory Booker, right? He wasn't even there.
Yep.
Nah, Yang's promising to bring him back. Yang made the promise.
She
That
may
Cory
not make
Booker's
the
coming back.
January. She may not make it in January though. They're up in the ante even more, and she hasn't. I think you have to have 5 in national polls and 7% in a couple early voting states, and she has not reached that threshold yet.
Yeah, I can't imagine she's going to stick through till that point. Honestly, I think like her and like Yang and stuff will probably drop by then.
Yeah, we may have seen Yang for the last time, honestly.
Oh darn, there's a
the
lot
I
of.
thought it
Yang
was
Yang
funny.
is-
I thought it was funny that line he said. What did he say? He was like, "I know what you're wondering. Why am I still here?" Or something like that. I was like, "Hey, nice, got him."
Yeah, poor guy.
I mean, it's true, but like, why?
It seems like Yang has good like speechwriters or whatever, people who help him prepare statements for these debates, but he just seems so like nervous to be on stage, which I get, right? But like, I don't know.
I mean,
Well,
didn't you
I
get
don't think
Donald
he's.
Glover as like a creative consultant on the Yang thing. Yang
Wait,
campaign?
what?
You really have Donald Glover
Oh,
as
Yeah,
creative
Donald
consultant.
Glover
That's sick.
joined
What, you mean like
as a
Childish
creative
Gambino?
consultant
What
on
are you,
the Yang
what
campaign.
are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, no, yeah,
That just
Donald Glover and
happened.
his like team joined.
Wait,
It was like 2 days
this
ago.
isn't a
they-
meme?
This isn't a meme. This literally happened. Like,
Oh,
That's sick. He's
oh,
gonna win.
boy.
Gambino's nuts, dude. Dude, I'm Yang Gang now, honestly. If you hire Gambino to fucking direct, to like to help in his
I'm waiting
campaign, I'm
for the, like,
all
Yang
for it,
Gang,
to
this
be
is
honest.
America, like that has to. Come
Yeah.
out, right?
That
Like,
honestly, people will vote
Wow,
for
this
that.
is for
People
real.
will vote purely because of a fucking music video. I could fucking see it, dude.
Music
I don't
video
know.
would be
Even
awesome.
if it's just like a 3 percentage points or whatever, I feel like the majority of Yang Gangers would like Bernie for some reason. That's just the impression I get. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like, Bernie's the second choice, but my first choice is Yang. So I'm happy with that 3% perhaps going to my favorite
What policies
candidate.
of Yang's are you guys really in favor of? 'Cause for the most part, anyone I've ever talked about to Yang is literally just fucking bought and paid for by $1,000 a month. I feel like I can just be like, hey, Harkdan
Yeah.
2020, $1,100 a month and fucking win. So does stupid policy.
And supporter now.
So generally speaking, I think that one of the appeals for Yang is the fact that he's one of the few candidates who's actually talking about automation in the future, kind of thing. Like basically, no other Democrat candidates have really like had a decent platform or like really talked about that a lot. Like his the way he's dealing with it isn't the best way, perhaps, but like at least he's talking about it. I think is the big thing a lot of people are like noticing. An appeal there.
I suppose so. I still think we're quite a bit away. So
Yeah.
even if I don't know if you've been to like Japan or any of these very modernized kind of Asian countries, even when you go there, yeah, there's some stuff that's modernized. Like if you go into a lot of restaurants, like you'll interact with a vending machine versus a person. But there's still waitresses, things like that. The amount of jobs that I feel like have been actual lost to automation, even in something that you could say is years ahead of us in accepting this type of stuff, is still pretty minimal. I think
Well, no,
maybe
it's
at the tail end of our
manufacturing,
lifestyle.
Dan. It's
I understand
manufacturing.
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that in
But those are
general,
the jobs that he's talking about because tons of jobs are now being lost to, factory workers are no longer able to work because it's just not as profitable
Well,
for the business as
the
it
thing
is
that
to
Yang
just get a
usually
bunch
goes-
of robots, right?
The thing that Yang usually goes for is like the trucking
Yes.
example, right? Like how trucker jobs are going to be lost
Yes.
to automation. I don't know how real of a threat that is. It doesn't seem to be like it seems like it would be a massive expense for trucking companies to undertake all at once. I don't know.
I'm
Not at
curious
all.
what the
Like, truckers make like imagine how much, right? Like yes, like the technology's not quite there, but once the technology's there, like truckers actually make decent money and would make worse time than a fucking machine doing the same goddamn thing.
What's
True,
better than
yeah.
robots?
It's worse for the
Weather.
environment
If
as
that
well,
stopped
isn't it?
during extreme weather.
For
I don't know if
sure.
we-
Truckers, yeah, it is worse for the environment as well.
I don't know if we care about that or not, but if you care about the environment, you should hope that these truckers lose their jobs immediately because the robo fleet's going to be faster, better, without less accidents. and
Why
better-
aren't the robo fleet worthy of moral consideration, huh? Have you thought about that? Maybe you're being bigoted against
Ram, if you
robots.
try to turn everything into fucking
Wait,
phosphate, I'm
isn't
gonna have
that-
to destroy you.
I
I mean,
the automation
it's
one of the
true.
areas where they look at it as like
Is
a
it
situation
true
of
though? I
going
mean,
to-
like it's like should we have more socialized policies that make it so that those truck workers aren't like as fucked by
For sure.
right, like by their jobs getting replaced? Like yeah, and that's why people like Yang. It's because Yang is concerned with that. Yang is concerned with the truck drivers who are perhaps it's not next year or the year after, but like 5-10 years down the line, say like even half of those jobs are replaced. There are a lot of fucking truck workers. I don't know how many truck workers there are, but there are a lot of fucking truck drivers.
At least
drivers.
20.
At least 20 to 50 truck drivers.
I saw a few on my way into Toronto, and there's definitely those guys.
Yeah, I think the major thing with automation is that it's one of those areas that's looked at as like
There are
a
approximately
rapidly
3.5
progressing area, right?
million
Hold on,
professional
hold on.
truck
Like-
drivers in the United States.
Hold on.
Was I wrong? I don't-
So automation.
What was
right,
that,
like,
Gushin?
is going
What was that,
I said at
Gushin?
least 20.
I'm just going to keep talking. So automation.
Yeah.
Let's keep talking.
I'm sorry.
So automation
Right.
basically is like one of those areas where it's going to rapidly progress, right? Like normally with tech, we see like areas where like certain like once they start like developing technology for it, it starts moving rapidly and starts growing rapidly as like an area they invest into. And automation is one of those areas that they're probably viewing as like an issue. Like in 15 years' time, it might be like most things might be moving towards that kind of point, right? So that's like why it's like it's an up and coming like issue that I think most people are focusing on.
I think if we're being realistic and fair with ourselves, I think 9 out of 10 fucking Yang voters probably don't care too much about this and are more enticed by the fact they're going to get a partial student debt bailout and get $1,000 a month. If we're
For
being
sure.
honest with each other, there's a reason that every time Yang comes on the stage, he's like, "Hey, and don't forget about my freedom dividend that's going to give you $1,000 a month." It's not talking about robots and shit taking over jobs.
Well, yeah,
but
Well, he
the
does
dividend is
also-
a
$1,000
response.
by saying the automation though. That's like
Yeah.
his lead into that. Like
Yeah.
I don't think it's the lead into that. I
This
think he's
is
fucking a one-trick
But
pony
why
that-
else should we be concerned? Why else should we really be concerned with that automation? We're concerned with people losing their jobs. We're concerned with
This
like
is
the
all
bridge
fine.
between
I'm saying
employment.
Yang-
Yeah,
Yang
Dan, I
has
think you're
bought-
generalizing here unfairly.
Not really. I think that Yang has done something that's incredibly fucking scummy. I'm not against the idea to a certain extent of UBI, but I think that the whole fact that Yang is there and essentially is even a somewhat meaningful candidate at this point pays to a bot election. It makes me wonder how any fucking run-of-the-mill bullshit, nobody fucking Democrat could be a presidential candidate and say, hey, you know what? We're going to give you $3,000 a month and have just as much a chance as Yang. I think it's bullshit. I don't think it's thought through, and it sure as fuck isn't thought through how it's going to be paid for. I'll tell you that much. You can get rid of the entire fucking military, get rid of huge parts of our stuff, and it wouldn't even cover a dent in this thing. Okay, this is ludicrously expensive.
I don't agree with his policy, but he does explain it. He basically said that it'd be out of welfare, like long story short, right? So theoretically speaking, instead of people using like welfare services, that's what they would get instead. And with the whole assumption that I don't personally agree with that, like, oh, everybody would rather take this than welfare, or the vast majority. That's where almost all the money would be coming from.
And that doesn't make any sense because the whole point of welfare is to prop up people who really need
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
and to
That's
fly-
part of why Yang's
That's
UBI
why
is so
most
shit, though.
that's why most Democrats don't like Yang's policy.
That's why it's so
because they recognize
stupid,
that It's a way
yeah.
of cutting social welfare out, right? They
But I mean, but it's like that. It should go
to
counter,
remove it.
not even to socialism, but even like the very basics of liberalism and a welfare state that goes essentially counter to
Well,
it. as
it
well.
doesn't replace all welfare, but it also does cut.
But if it's
into it,
taking money
right?
out of
Because
the
you don't
welfare
need-
system,
But it will take some inherently because it is a welfare system itself. You don't have to spend as much if people have a dividend so they can be afforded certain things. Obviously,
but
shouldn't
the-
replace like a form of healthcare. They shouldn't be relying on that money just for healthcare. But right, like it provides them like a bridge, right? The entire point is a bridge. Some of
don't-
it can become from welfare, but I'm pretty sure his policy mostly relies on taxing larger tech
Yeah,
companies.
so that's what the policy relies on. But the argument that people are saying is that because it opens the door for that to be an option for like removing welfare and stuff, that future governments might be able to utilize that same thing as a way to further remove welfare along the same like line, like for.
Well, no,
for, like,
Yang
right?
said himself on
potential
Dave
movement.
Rubin like forever ago that it would be a choice that you'd have to choose between like welfare programs and receiving those benefits from the government or like receiving the UBI. I think he said that. I'm pretty
He
sure.
did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that
Yeah.
was on the campaign, yeah, or like one of the debates he said that.
that's
pretty
not
much
that's
so.
not bad. That's not a bad idea.
No, it's totally
Well,
shit.
that's
an atrocious. Yeah, that's not a good idea
Yeah.
at all.
No,
Yeah,
no, no,
'cause
no, no,
here's
no.
the
I
thing.
understand because pragmatic, but that would give people the ability now. Like, let's assume that money isn't going to be taken away from these welfare systems. That would then provide people the ability to stay on their welfare and give the chance to people who need it the most to get more funding than someone who doesn't need, that type of income. So
Well,
Maybe,
but
if
chances
that
are
money
if you're
comes
in
at the-
welfare, you need it,
no, I
right?
agree.
And,
It's bullshit because it comes at the expense of people.
Yeah,
who
but if
are
it comes
actually-
Yeah,
out like if it
exactly.
comes out dollar for dollar out of something like something like SNAP, does
Yeah.
it really matter if they still have the money to pay for the food that they would need?
right? No, I agree.
Like at the end of the day, I think that's why that like doesn't really suffer as an analogy, is because you can just take it out of systems that like would one-to-one work. If you have if you have the freedom to then use that money, sure you could not spend it on food and then starve, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but if they lose their SNAP benefits, most people get like $200-300. So now you're talking $700 a month for people.
Sure,
Exactly.
but we're ignoring the major issue that most people have, which is that the putting this in without putting any controls on like stuff like rent, like on like a corporation like hiking up prices, we might just see like that kind of thing just go up instead as a way of countering
True.
like that influx of money, right? So most
Which
of that
is
money
which is
might
the biggest
go
problem
into,
with
like,
UBI in general, right?
Yeah, price hikes and stuff is the biggest issue with UBI in general. But like, doesn't if it's just UBI by itself, then more than likely you'll see that money just end up going to like corporations or like landlords that will hike up like rent and prices and stuff as a way of like getting that influx of cash that's coming into the economy.
Well, it's also going to run into a brick wall in Congress, and they're going to have to negotiate it down. So, and people are going to be stuck with Andrew Yang getting maybe $300 a month. Like, there's no way in hell that thing makes its way through Congress $1,000 a month. No way.
Sure. I mean, this is all point because he's been pulling 3% for like his entire life. So I don't know how much value there is in Yang talking about Yang.
Yeah, I think we should stop talking about Yang and Klobuchar. Both are.
We also stick to like Warren, Pete, Biden, Sanders are like the ones I think matter.
I
think Warren. I think
total sellout. I really.
I think Warren's done.
Warren, you think she's done?
Yeah, she's been dropping massively in the past like week. I think Warren's going to drop in like.
And her performance yesterday was not good. So
was it not? I thought Warren did okay.
I feel like she like served as a martyr to basically make, because I think she harmed Pete, but at the same time, the way that like she was not sufficiently able to defend herself enough against Pete's own objections.
You're saying she like suicide bombed his campaign?
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna yeah, essentially.
Just running it down mid, just like taking out Pete.
Yeah, behind stage, just giving her directions, just
Bernie is basically gonna benefit from it. So
I guess that's probably true. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Bernie definitely does benefit from like from fucking Warren taking a fall to like knock out Pete, but I don't know, isn't enough, right? Isn't enough. Like all this fucking moderate like movement in the fucking Democratic Party is just, I don't know, it's kind of fucking gross.
Well,
really
like, can I just say
gross.
I'm so thankful that Bloomberg entered the race. Like, thank you, Bloomberg, because he hopefully will just siphon stuff off from Biden. So
honestly, when I saw from the polls, it suggested that actually Pete lost mostly when Bloomberg.
Well, either way, I don't care. Yeah. Either way, whatever.
One of the watered down fucking moderate like Democrats losing is a win for everyone else. So it really doesn't fucking matter at the end of the day who the fuck it is.
Wait, sorry. I think having more moderates there is better because, in my opinion, it would split up Biden. No, like
Biden seems to be strong regardless. I can't see Biden seems to be like hovering like 28% regardless of what the fuck happens at this point.
But that's not true. That isn't true though, because I mean, if you look at the poll, whenever there's been a spike of a moderate, there has tended to be a dip from. Like they
are you looking at like the aggregate of polls, or are you just looking at like because the aggregate of polls like shows that like Biden had a drop from like 40% down to 28% in like I think it was like April sometime, which is when he had the first debate. I think it was the second debate, and then since then he's hovered at like 28% to like 30% like the entire time.
Yeah, no, I understand. But then if you look at the dips and you look at the increases, they are almost always correlated with one of the moderates, one of like. Who aren't Bernie and Warren increasing in their poll numbers. So like if you look at, for example, November 6th, there you see the spike of Harris and you see the decrease in Biden. And then as soon as they start to drop, Biden goes up again. And it's just that repeated like, look here, November 21st, there's the dip and there's the increase for Buttigieg. There's Buttigieg's dip and there's Biden's increase. So it's all definitely correlated with one another. So, you could see the moderate vote is shifting. I just don't think that a lot of people. I mean, I think the people who are on board. I wish that one of Warren or Bernie would just get out of the race. To be honest, I do truly believe
it'll be.
that.
I said Warren will probably drop in a month, 2 months time. I reckon.
I would be so thankful because I think that guarantees. I think that guarantees Bernie's success. I do.
Yeah, I thought it was more likely that Bernie's going to go. It seems like he has a lot of health problems, already having a heart attack on the campaign trail, right? I mean, if not, we should really talk about
FDR was in a wheelchair.
I mean, we want to talk about like Biden's health problems.
Like, I mean, being in a
FDR is heralded as one of the greatest presidents. No, he was heralded as one of the greatest presidents of all time, and he was, physically disabled. And
this is a very different thing, Rem, and you know it. You should not.
How is it a different thing?
Because being in a wheelchair doesn't mean that you are having imminent fucking health risks that are indicative of dying.
But above and beyond, because if you're worried about the mental state of someone,
I didn't say I was. I said I was worried that Bernie's going to die.
Oh, you're worried he's going to like pass out. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I mean,
the other
he's
thing
what,
is
1 year older than Biden, though. I mean,
Yeah, but he had a heart attack, so it's a big difference.
Biden
It's a
was
huge-
bleeding out the fucking eye.
That's
Like this
true.
is like it's like so helpful. It's like fucking Hillary collapsed like last year, like the sort of 3 years ago now. Like I don't know, like health. Like
I
they're
mean,
all
no, I
pretty
think a
old
heart
fucking
attack is
people,
worse.
right? Like
I
I don't
think
know.
a heart
It's a
attack
bit
I've had like,
worse, but I mean,
like,
we can act like it's the same thing. If
It's
passing
not.
out or
Yeah, it's
fainting is the
not
same
at
as a
all.
no,
heart
but I've
attack.
had
No,
people in my
but I
family who've
feel
had
like-
heart attacks, and like you can heart attacks.
Oh
can be,
well,
like,
we
they're
got some.
fucked, like
We
heart
have some
No, but if you
excellent
look at the
data.
average, if you look at the average cause of death among older people, it comes from the heart, not from the brain.
sure,
So
but
Yeah, but I
he
mean,
had
I
surgery
rather-
for it, right? He had the heart surgery.
Well,
That was like,
yeah, of
and now
course.
it's
but-
showcasing that it's stronger than ever with that kind of thing, right? I mean, like if we're gonna help,
what do you mean
them, like,
stronger than ever?
stronger than it was beforehand the surgery?
Well, of course.
so then
but-
now he's better off now. Yes.
Look, I'll give my own heart to Bernie Sanders if he needs it. All right, like chill.
Whoa, wait,
we'll
you
get him in
wait,
office,
Did you
right?
say
and
that
then we'll
his
figure
heart
it
is
out.
stronger for having had a heart attack? Was that the?
Yeah, I
I'm
didn't
saying it's stronger than it was before
No,
the
that
surgery.
got better because of surgery.
Okay.
But here's the
But like that,
deal, right?
okay, but
I-
having a
I
heart attack
agree.
means
That's
you're
a
more
really
likely
low
to
bar to
have
set.
more.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree. The heart attack thing is kind of worrying, but I mean, like, I guess I this is just personal or whatever. I rather like take the odds or whatever than a president who I feel is going through obvious mental decay, which I think Biden
Also,
kind of is.
I don't know. If
There's a reason we have vice president.
What's that?
There's a reason we have vice
Oh, yeah,
president.
that's why I was saying I think we should, if Bernie somehow does get the nomination, I think we have to be very.
Gotta have Biden
tuned
in
into
there.
who is
That's
his
the vice president.
Yeah, I mean,
Biden is vice president.
They both dropped
Not
dead
like
at the
this.
same time.
That's what I was thinking.
That'd be President
Good
Pelosi.
job, Mitch McConnell. Wow.
President Pelosi, if that happens.
Oh yeah, no, that's right.
That'd
It
be
would be
so
Pelosi.
great.
She's been doing a good job with the impeachment stuff. I
She
wouldn't
has been
mind.
doing a good job with the impeachment stuff thus
She's
far.
been
That
doing
is
a
true.
good job of being a politician, which is all that really matters in passing policies in the first place. That's all that you have to.
I mean, that's
In
her
fact,
whole job,
that
right?
should be the number.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
I just
stand our Queen Pelosi. Amen.
stand people that actually know how to politic. Fuck ideals and shit like that if you can't get anything passed, which I yet to see Bernie be able to do anything.
Well, yeah, but
that's
if you
okay.
can get
I-
things done and you
well-
don't get good things done, that's a bad
Excuse me,
thing.
did you not see the
Necessarily bad.
Yebben bill, Dan?
Listen, we are talking about plans like Yang Scan. Let me give me
A,
some.
a politically effective sycophant is not a good thing. Right?
No,
Like-
no,
like,
no,
just
no,
because.
that's why I say it's the second most important thing. First thing should be.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No. Agreed.
That's why people take like watered down candidates who can actually get the job done. Like again, using an example like Yang,
how politically
plan-
ineffective do you how politically effective do you think the current like spread of Democratic candidates are? Like who's the most, who's the least? Well, who's the most?
We're
Just, like,
definitely
who
the
are-
best
who are
at
up the most?
losing. That's for sure. We're really good at that.
Dare
The
I
reason-
say that they're all pretty lousy, but if I had to bet on one of them, I would just say that Biden probably has the most experience. Just has he been in the game the longest? I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I think
If he
since the
has,
70s.
I think with this type of thing, it's really just the amount of it's like 10,000 hours that something makes you a master. I would kind of trust.
Well,
his
but
judgment
I
on
would
how-
Bernie's
say-
been in politics since a super young age as well, and like there are things.
But
that
it's
we
a
can,
different
like,
kind of politics, right? That he was in a
He's
municipal
opposition,
position,
right? Yeah.
and he never had executive positions in the
sure,
actual White House.
Fair enough. I was just saying, I think who would be best at politicking is two things. One, it's knowing all the back alleys to getting things done, and this guy owes me a favor for that. That stuff is incredibly popular and powerful in Washington. And then I think the second avenue of that is actually being able to pull people together and having relationships. Relationships, as much as everyone wants to kind of disparage and say they don't matter, are hugely important for doing shit in Washington. Like so many deals get done just by nepotism as a result of that being your coworker or being guy, whatever. I mean, I hate to say it's a fact. I think Biden probably knows the most people, has the most relationship, and has the most experience doing it. So I go with the most, lackluster, lukewarm candidate, but the one who's likely to get elected and get something done. And last thing I'm going to say.
What is he likely to get done though?
Okay, that's a good example. I'm glad you do it. So like Obamacare is something that got passed. And again, I was trying to say this before. Looking at Yang Gang's fucking $1,000 a month thing, dude, I don't think people understand how expensive it is. So the plan, just that plan, the best case scenario is about $2.5 trillion a year to pay for that. Do you know how much total tax the United States took in last year? $3 trillion. That's for every fucking thing we did. I don't understand. Like, I mean, I guess we can try to double the tax on everyone, but that's going to send the country into recession. Like, there's
Wait, but this is fallacious, right? Like, we don't necessarily have to tax to equate like government spending always. This isn't how we like.
Okay, so how am I wrong? So we are going to have to pay out $2.5 trillion a year. Where would you like that to come from?
The government just spends money. They don't necessarily have to collect it through taxes first. I mean, like when we spend money.
The Fed.
Is it not the whole
If
thing
we're
about the deficit, or am I like super
if we're
wrong on
going
that?
if we're going money tree here, I mean the Fed can just print the money, and
Oh,
it
no, are we
doesn't
talking
deflate
economics
it
now?
at. I'm not gonna money tree it, but like
I really don't
it
want to do
doesn't
that.
fully
I've
match
got a
the inflation.
We don't
would
have to.
expect.
We don't have to. But we can just drop this
Dan.
entire topic then, because it's.
Oh, well, no. I mean, yeah, we can scuff the topic if the solution is just print more money. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Oh,
fuck
no,
that.
that's
Done.
insanely
Well, I mean,
reductive, Dan, and you
being
know
said,
it.
no?
Come on, Dan.
Is that not what we're saying?
That
Is
is,
just-
But
isn't
also-
that what
but
North
also-
said though?
Wait, how's the
that is
program?
that is what I
More
said. And
money,
it like
quotes.
it's technically true. Like, I looked into it. It's not like the inflation that we would expect from the amount of money that the Fed has printed is not lined up. So it's not fully right, like which is not fully understood or agreed upon in any economic sense. And I'm not an expert in it at all, but like that doesn't line up fully. But B,
Don't worry,
right, like the amount of
economists aren't very good at it either. So.
no, they're not. They're not. They're just all shit. Okay, they're not. They need to fucking keep the magic, and they don't. But more importantly, I think is like the discussion around the economic, like actual, like the revenue that it generates. Like each dollar of Snap, I think the estimate was like it generates $1.7 like in like economic revenue. So I mean, like who's to say that like we probably would want to increase taxes based on this kind of program, and like a lot of what it. So I mean, like discounting it in terms of like payment, yeah, like we double the tax rate, but would we double the tax rate on the tech companies that don't pay taxes? I mean,
Yeah,
like
for sure. I mean, we don't have to increase taxes across the board, and it's like,
yeah.
I mean, we go over budget all the time. That's what the deficit is, right? So we're not even really spending like our exact money when it comes to taxes as much as we are like, I guess, overspending in a sense. Which if that's an issue important to you, like decreasing the deficit, then that's another thing, right? But if that's
yeah,
not
and there are
something
good
that,
reasons
like,
to do that. To be clear, yeah.
yeah,
Can
if
we
that's
just
not- Mhm.
like acknowledge like economics in terms of like macroeconomics specifically, which is obviously going to be what is relevant for a discussion like this, is just its track record in terms of actually being accurate is fucking abysmal. The accuracy of economic predictions, macroeconomic forecasts are absolute garbage. So I'm always extremely skeptical of arguments like for or against certain positions just based on, because obviously we have to take into account, we have to try to calculate it in some sort of fashion. But I honestly have no idea how, like even on the debate stage, right, that all underlying this discussion are just these very wishy-washy, extremely vague types of predictive behavior of human beings and their relation to capital that almost always end up being completely bullshit at the end of the day. It's very unsettling to me.
I don't know about that. I know that I'm not sure about that statement because I do know that there is like certain things that usually do happen. You're right that it's a predictability sort of thing, so you're never gonna get 100% correct. But I don't think it's safe to be like, oh no, like this is all like wishy-washy bad stuff, because it's not that exactly either, right? There are things that surprise us constantly when it comes to like econ, but it's not fair to be like, oh yeah, it's just kind of like a random dart that you're throwing on a board.
Well, I don't think it's a random dart. Like this. Obviously, you can all see what I'm doing because I don't necessarily. I don't know if we want to get in. I mean, I want to get into this, but I don't think anyone else wants to get into it. So we can move on if you want. But I would just say I'm skeptical of economics playing as big of a role as it ultimately does in even academic circles, or like what was that podcast? Was it this podcast recently where that guy came on with his big brain? Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about Nate a few weeks ago with the
yes,
talking about
right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
absolutely. Yep. And then I pushed him a little bit, and he's like, and there was no substance under there. It was just a ton of claims, and when asked to justify it, there's nothing there.
Wait, what about Nate's
I disagree. I don't. That's not how I recall it.
That's
Get
not
Nate
how
in
that
here.
happened at all. Though.
Bring
It
Nate
wasn't
in.
that there
Where's
was no
Nate?
substance. We kind of went in circles though. That was the thing. Like it ended up being to the point where it's like, okay, well, this is just like sort of an observation. It's not like a new finding, and then we were just like, oh well, economists disagree on it, and that was like essentially that's where we ended up, was like it's kind of not, it's not as
No,
novel
the issue
as we
is
thought.
it can't be used, or it has no purpose in terms of predictivity, because at the end of the day, it can't inform us as to how to essentially make policy decisions, because
No,
it is
but I mean, it like in terms of being able to fund policy like more liberally than people believe based on the numbers, and not having to be like, okay, we're spending 2 trillion, we have to tax 2 trillion. That's what it allows. Like it's just theory. Like that's all. It's not like, it's not as practical as you're tearing it apart.
Well, no,
a theory
it's
for
not
being
just.
impractical.
This isn't true.
Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
like,
It's not just theory though. It's a descriptive analysis of like how our
MMT
right. And
current
the
system is
objection,
set up.
though, is that it's descriptive in the same sense. Like it can't be, in essence, like falsified in any meaningful sense of the word. There is no possible event that would ever occur.
No, that's not true either.
No, that's not true
all
at all.
MMT
Like,
attempts
what
to do.
event? This is what I was pushing.
Wait,
what
so
could happen in
the
the
event would
world?
be they print money,
We're saying things that are
and
not
the
true.
currency deflates at a rate that is not conducive to them just printing money to make it happen. Like hyperinflation would be like what disproves it. If the Fed printed money and we hyperinflated as a result trying to spend policies like that, the money tree theory would just fucking fall.
Exactly.
I remember that being brought up in the previous discussion, though, and he said that something. There was some response.
What Nate would
to that.
probably say is that the real constraint is unemployment. That's usually what MMT proponents say. All MMT is really trying to do is just describe how the government, like with a government with a sovereign currency like the U.S. or Canada or what have you, manages to spend in the way that it does. Right? That's all that MMT tries to do. We're trying to figure out like the U.S. spends a lot of money all at once, and it seems like it can do that without creating like hyperinflation. So why? Right? That's what MMT is about.
Yeah.
Right. Well, honestly, I don't know enough about macroeconomic theory to really, push back on it. But I just recalling that conversation with him, I just know how knowing the makeup of different economic departments and the way that economists actually interact with one another. It's, like for in the sciences.
And he was insisting that economists are largely just shit. Like that was a lot of his, like, he was just like, oh, they're just not used to it. It's not like, it just.
But I mean, I don't think that's
so fair, but like it is, just because it's a descriptive model that like doesn't apply in the ways that you are expecting it to, I don't think makes it invalid.
No. My point is that it doesn't seem like we can employ any sort of macroeconomic theory to actually justify, in a real sense, a lot of the policy decisions or policy debates that are going on in the Democratic,
people
because they are not descriptively accurate usually.
No, but people are constantly shitting on like larger like universal healthcare, UBI. People are constantly shitting on these programs because of the fact that they're not affordable. But the U.S. has historically been able to spend insane amounts of money without it hyperinflating us. So theoretically, we could just do that. Like it's changing the model in terms of how people think about it. In terms of, oh, we have to tax X dollars to spend X dollars, because that's what MMT sort of pushes back on, right? That we don't tax a dollar and then spend the dollar. We tax it and it eliminates it from, right? Like that was what he was trying to explain to us.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's currency.
The like
I want to go ahead and ask.
right?
I want to get somebody else's opinion. Gushin, what do you think about this conversation?
So economics? You want to bring me in for economics?
You put up the thinking emoji, so
honestly, I want to learn about it. So because I've come
thinking
in.
emoji was
I'm definitely not a good person to learn it from.
Rim, I've got a connection for you that I can send you if you want it. Okay.
I want to hear what Harkdan has to say about
sure.
this.
Well, I have a question that's kind of an interesting one. So it sounds like everyone's like, oh, MMT is good when you give $1 to someone.
Not me.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think it's.
I'm not saying it's good either. I'm just saying it's descriptive.
Okay.
It's not actually applicable.
If you give $1 to an average person and somehow it produces $1.20 in economic gain, or however this is defined, if you were to give that same dollar to someone who is let's say upper class, and it was to produce $5, would you be in favor of giving more money to the wealthy?
Well, if that was the case, then Reaganomics would work, right? Or
I'm asking.
Wait, you're saying if you
but the thing is that historically we haven't
understand.
seen this happen. But yeah, theoretically, if that did happen, I would be more in favor of that. But the thing is, like, historically, it just doesn't happen that way. Usually, when we give like huge tax cuts to like really rich people, or kind of like invest in those companies, they end up either like buying back stock or.
Well, in this case, we're not really talking about a tax break. I mean, it's similar but different, right? It's less of a it's more of a giving, right? Because everyone's going to get $1,000 a month. So I don't know. It's less of you pay us less money and more of we're just giving you money. Granted, it's most
Well,
of the same.
Dan, I guess the question I would ask you is: are we trying to create the most like economic revenue, or are we trying to make sure that like people have decent standards of living?
Yeah, it's
I
a
don't know.
welfare program, not an investment
I don't know
program,
what
right?
the goal is here. But I mean, if the idea is that we'll just take print money to pay for it, I think there's a lot more cool shit that we can do.
Oh, for
besides
sure.
Yeah, so
I hugely agree
what?
with you there.
Space.
Yeah, UBI isn't that great of a policy to me. I would never defend UBI over like a social program.
I mean, I would defend UBI. I just hate the idea. I mean, again, bringing it back to Yang, I just hate the idea that it feels like we could have had an actual like visionary candidate pushing UBI, someone with big political experience, someone who has like a track record on this shit, and instead we got some fucking failed tech bro that's out there possibly poisoning UBI for years.
I mean, okay, that's
right?
like
Totally.
very specific. You don't like Yang seems like that, but like, how would you make a UBI that works then? If you're pro UBI, but you're just anti Yang.
Well, I think UBI only really comes into a place after it's tested small. So I know that there's a program called Y Combinator that's tested. I think it was in Oakland, giving a bunch of people $1,000 a month to see how it increased their lives and if they became beneficial. I think that essentially it has to be tied into some sort of education budget. So in the same way, I think that we should vastly improve our education in the country. If doing these things, if giving $1,000 a month to people not only pulls them out of poverty, but somehow saves the government money as they no longer require welfare programs, that is just something we do. We have to test it. We don't fucking go with Yang, $1,000 a month for fucking everyone. This should work, hopefully. I don't know, maybe. I mean, not that he could ever pass it, but still, it just seems fucked. I think we have to have smaller tests and see
Wouldn't
if it works.
wouldn't the incremental progressional approach be to pass it in smaller communities first? Like, wouldn't like if you were Yang, right, or well, it's not if you were Yang. If you were a UBI candidate, right, wouldn't that be the way that you initially passed it? Wouldn't you just go incremental, like Warren plans to do with healthcare?
I think incremental is definitely the way to test it.
Do we know that are we 100% that he just wants to get in office and then just push it to everyone immediately? Is he on record there?
Well, I mean, that's sure as fuck what he's been telling all of us on the stage every day, and if it's not, that's some pretty politician bullshit. Because I'm ready for my $1,000 a month, man. I'll be fucking.
I thought
he was
being
gonna start with 10
savvy.
families or something.
Listen, this motherfucker, every time he's going up there, he's saying, I'm going to get $1,000 a month. If I don't get that shit now, after all this, I'm going to be fucking furious.
Hey, last night he
Dan,
actually
we're all
highlighting
streamers
that.
here. It's not even about us getting the money. It's about our viewers getting the money so that they could donate it and sub to us, right?
Yeah, that way our viewers can all hit that.
UBI is
button,
the best
right?
policy for streamers. Let's be
I
real.
just love the comic of the basically
Needs give me your money.
$1,000 to a tenant, the landlord just jacking up the rent by $1,000 a month. Not that would happen, but it's pretty funny. Anyway.
How are you guys gonna feel when somebody burns their $1,000 on Instagram within the first day they get it, just for internet points?
Wait, what do you mean? How
the-
can you burn money on it? You buy things on Instagram?
You didn't
Burn
seem
it.
I mean, like,
I think
As in physically burning it
on fire.
and then taking a video.
Oh.
My heart would hurt.
That'd be disappointing.
There's some rich shitheads out there that will do it. Trust me, like
Wouldn't
some
that be
teenagers.
incriminating? Isn't that illegal?
That is.
Believe it or not,
I'm pretty sure destruction of currency.
Capital
is
binds
illegal.
us.
No. Destruction is legal.
Oh, it is?
Modification is illegal.
Oh, wait, wouldn't destruction be modification, arguably?
No.
Oh, okay.
I
Modified
modified
into
this
ass.
money into a pile
Into
of
dust,
ash.
right? Yeah, I don't know.
But you know what I'm saying.
I thought destruction
I
of
get you,
currency was
yeah.
actually illegal. Is it not illegal?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't believe
It's
it
illegal
is.
here.
I remember looking into it before, and it was very to the point that destroying currency is not illegal. But if you attempt to modify it in any way, so it's like turn a 5 into a 10 or something, that would be if it was altered.
Wait, so if you draw like a
I'm
mustache,
not getting into semantics,
you
but
draw-
there's a definitional difference. I just don't know what it is of what modified versus destroyed is. Okay.
So
Now,
I
if
can
you
draw
get
a
Maybe it's that
semantics-
you're allowed to reduce your own wealth, but not try to increase it. That might be it. Yeah.
something along those
All right,
lines.
we
So
can
what I
test this
found here,
out.
it
Somebody
says
get a
that
dollar
according
and
to
burn
the
it in front of a
title-
cop.
I'm good.
According to Title 18, Chapter 17 of the U.S. Code, which sets out crimes related to coins and currency, anyone who alters, defaces, mutilates, impairs, diminishes, falsifies, scales, or licensed coins or currency can face fines or prison time. The same goes for
Okay.
debasing.
bam,
I feel
you
like
just got
mutilate.
Dan.
Mutilate
You
is a
just got
strong word to
absolutely
describe
demolished.
defacing money.
Holy
Hold on.
shit! Oh, Dan! Oh, Google Dan! Google
Slow
Dan!
your-
Oh my
Graham, I
God.
will fucking destroy you like no one on this podcast has ever before. Because don't forget, I've gone toe to toe. I will fuck you up, kid. All right?
No.
Don't
Anyone who
fucking start
mutilates
with me.
cuts, like anyone who mutilates cuts, defigures, perforates, unites, or cements together, or any other evidence of debt issued by a national banking association or the Federal Reserve Bank or the Federal Reserve System, with the intent to render such bank, bill, note, draft, or other evidence of debt unfit to be issued, can be fined or imprisoned.
I mean, if that's the case, then
Yeah, like you can try and go at me, but I'm
You
not. I'm
got
just citing
owned,
the US
Dan.
fucking code. I'm not like. I'm not. This
Oh.
is just my head. This is the code. I'm just reading it out loud.
No, I mean,
Oh my
I remember
God.
reading something about this that wasn't.
Is this the end of Dan's career? I like, holy shit.
Like,
What
you want
were
to
the
find some
Twitch-
shit? Go down to the.
It is destruction. It is destruction of federal instruments, right? Like it's definitely not.
You guys remember
okay
the
in
machines
mass.
at all these places where you stand? Man, shut the fuck up for a second. Jesus Christ. You
did the laughing emote.
At all these theme parks where you can stamp, like put a penny in it and it'll like turn it into some shit. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, it'll crush it.
Yeah, there was a legal case between them and the federal government, and they won. So.
Oh, so there's precedent for it being okay.
I wish I could do it.
You're actually.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I looked into it as a
He's
case.
so
If it's
sad.
not, it's not. But sure.
What would the Twitch roundtable version of sexual tension be called? I feel like that's what we. That's what we have
What?
here.
Wait, hold on. You made this
What?
weird. Why did you bring up sexual tension?
No. Don't misunderstand me. I mean, like, what would the sexual tension?
Hey,
version of, like,
Puffshake, look
debate
at my
tension
screen right
be?
now. Ready?
Okay, chill. Like debate tension is what I'm trying to think of a term for.
Oh, well, why say sexual tension? Just
Because
say
that's how people
tension.
usually use the term. I don't know.
I mean, it does look like Puff and Mindwave are in like the same room, basically.
It's like if you like
I can't
act
prove
like
that
if
we're
you-
not.
True.
I don't
The
know.
camera
if you
pans
spill
over, there's
someone
just,
on-
like,
if
Puff
you
hiding in
spill
the
someone on
corner.
something on someone's shirt and like that's an awkward situation, you're not gonna say, "Oh God, the sexual tension is like really." You just say
All right, just omit the sexual part then. Just call it
Wait, they
tension.
are
I'm sorry.
kind of wearing the
It's
same
the
shirt.
tension.
Okay. Yeah, it's called tension. What do you mean? I don't understand the question.
That's okay.
All right.
We can
So we
move
were
on.
talking about the Dem debates and the Dem primaries.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to ask y'all: have y'all ever met a Globochart supporter? I've never met one. Not
I
a
know
single
one.
I
one.
haven't either.
I
One,
do.
just one.
My mom bought her book. Was a big fan
Really?
of her. I think she still might be. I don't know. Look, I'll ask Mama Rem soon. Do you want me to call her? Want me to call my mom
No.
and see? We can ask her
Wouldn't it
why
be
she
nice
likes
to
know?
know?
Globochart.
Tension, okay? Just keep it to yourself.
My dad was a Tim Ryan supporter till he dropped out, and now
Oh,
he's an
yikes.
Amy Klobuchar supporter.
It just can't win.
Wow.
Oh wow.
I think he bases it off who gets a nice interview on PBS NewsHour. That's about it.
Anyways, I think
Yeah.
people they like that her whole thing is being pragmatic. That's the whole shtick. So for people who want to return to normalcy, feel like they want stuff that will actually get passed in the Senate, because people are worried about Obama happening again in a sense. Obama essentially overpromised, and people were disappointed, even though that's literally the nature of politics in itself. But people think that the way to correct this is just to have someone who passes really lukewarm policies where we don't see any real change in the status quo. So it's for people like that.
She's also
Yeah.
from the Midwest, and none of the other candidates are.
I
Yeah.
feel like it's strange when people
I know
are
she
like,
says it every
"Oh."
10 minutes.
Well, Pete is
I
right.
think it's strange when people talk about we should have Biden in because he's like a moderate or whatever, and that way more things will get passed. And it's I guess you could make the argument that Obama campaigned as a progressive, but I mean, he was able to pass anything like that. Do you really think his VP, who is so intertwined with Obama's name in itself, is going to get some sort of effect done and with a similar Senate, or even you can argue a worse one because of what
Yeah,
because
but
of
if
what happened when
Biden
Trump got
just
in?
gives in to everything the Republicans demand, he'll get loads of things passed. So technically speaking, get a fucking shit done if you just immediately crosses the aisle on every single issue.
Yeah, as opposed to
Hey,
someone like
actually
Bernie
true. That's
who
how we
will
got
get
the
fucking
Affordable Care
nothing
Act.
done.
I have a
Actually,
question.
isn't it?
Do you guys think that Biden actually understands what being transgender is?
do you think he has any sort of like
No.
comprehension about what it actually means to be?
I kind of doubt it. Yeah. Although I kind of doubt that Bernie
Not at
does
all.
too. After last night, he gave
I
a really
think
bad answer. on
Bernie
the-
definitely does, because I saw an interview of him literally talking about gender, and I saw him talking about it, and he seemed to understand it. So
I'll check that out then. Maybe I just.
I
haven't
think
seen
he
it.
was. Yeah, I don't think he was prepared for that question. I don't
Yeah,
think
it didn't-
he knew what to answer, so he just redirected
Wasn't a
it
very
back.
good answer.
So just to reiterate for anybody that doesn't know, maybe in the audience, like what are you guys referring to exactly? Because I know that there was a question that was directed towards Bernie, and some people have criticized him for not like directly answering the question. What was the question again?
I probably can't recap
race
it verbatim, but sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, was it the race one where they asked like the race and he was like talking about climate change instead? Was that the?
No, there was something
thing I
about
was thinking of?
transgender people.
No,
and he was
yeah,
just
they
like,
asked him. Yeah, they asked him like, how would he help the transgender community? Blah blah blah. And then the guy basically responded, the transgender community has like gone through a lot, and that's why Medicare for all. And I,
he sort of just like lumped
maybe
trans people in with black people, and then was like, good, done.
someone's in my chat and they're spamming the N-word, but someone took the time to make an account called Rem the Soy Boy Cuck. Like, does this mean I've made it when someone has
Nice.
I think you've made
spent
it.
time to
Sounds like somebody. hates you.
Congratulations, Rem. Actually, Rem, you've made it. Here's a clap for you, buddy.
So-
There you go.
So wait.
Everyone clap for me.
If you need the affirmation, there you go. All the claps. Look
My
at that.
friend said this was
Okay,
saying
the-
N-word, and my mod said, "Wow, Destiny's alts are really getting like."
Oh no.
Got him, dude.
I mean, I seriously like asking like, does like Biden like or Bernie get trans issues? I seriously doubt that like 90% of like cis people get trans issues. Like honestly, like talking to a lot of them, like a lot of cis people
Probably
don't
higher
fucking
than
know
that.
about, like,
Well, no,
like,
but I
Hey,
wonder
sort of
if
estimate.
Biden thinks of like transgender as being the same thing as transsexual or something. Is what I mean. I feel like he might have that kind of, because I know like
I have
older people-
0% confidence that any of them know like any distinction between any terms related
I
to
mean,
the
even
LGBT
here,
community.
transgender, transgender and transsexual isn't like a very concrete thing nowadays. Honestly, it's moved a lot more.
Transsexual.
Well, no, but I'm saying I think a lot of people, like I'm sure a lot of older people think that if you are transgender, it necessarily means that you want to or have undergone some sort of sexual reassignment surgery, which isn't the case, obviously, but you know.
Sure, but there are plenty of people that I would say that also. I mean, like it's identity based stuff. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, like a lot of people there who have gone through like gender transition stuff who would still not say transsexual, they'd still say transgender. So it's not like an explicit thing. It's a lot more.
Well, of course, but I'm saying, but he probably has no idea how to make
Sure,
any sort of.
but like I said, like I think most of the population like doesn't have any fucking idea. Like I mean, they see very little. Right? There's like 4 or 5 trans people, and that's like enough for them to like kind of get like a vague idea.
I think Warren. Nobody really gave a good response to that. I think Warren made kind of like a decent appeal, not the best, because not specific policy. But I think like the idea of like reading the names of all trans people who have been victims of violence because they were trans.
That was the most cringe thing I've ever heard in my life when she said that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was
I
awful.
don't know.
What don't
You like that though,
was
Pixie?
I said like I think that at least like acknowledging the amount of like violence trans people to go through was like a right step. I don't think she worded it the best way. I think the Rose Garden, you know, that was like still a little bit cheesy. But I think at least it was like, I guess, better than I could think of what any other candidate would say.
I would just rather her speak to how she's actually going to take the time to protect, you know, the lives of trans individuals and
I
protect
agree.
their freedom and liberty.
Sure, I wouldn't call it cringy though. Someone reading out a list of people who've been killed.
Oh no, it was definitely cringy.
I
It
don't know
was
how you
cringy.
say it wasn't cringy. It was cringy to the fucking max.
Yeah, it was. It was also the cringy. One of the cringiest moments came from Bernie when he said, "And white." I'm like, I still don't really understand
Oh,
what
that
he
was
was.
Sanders.
Well, I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, that's what I
Did
said.
you want to
I can't
elaborate
write
on
it
that?
in.
Like, why you think that it's not necessarily like cringe to you?
Okay, so I mean, the problem is we're talking the idea of cringe here, and I mean, we might all have different versions of what the fuck
Right,
we mean
yeah.
by
Such a
cringe,
subjective
right? I mean,
term. Yeah.
yeah, like it's a subjective term. Like, I don't know, like maybe you have a different version when you say cringe kind of there, but I think it feels like when the implication there, like I would say it was possibly a poorly misconstrued way as showing a understanding of the issues that trans people can go through. But I wouldn't say like someone like listing out people who have been killed because of who they were is a cringy thing. Like inherently, I wouldn't probably go that far, right? Instead, when there's someone like listing out like, oh, all these people got like shot, all these black people got shot, I wouldn't be like, oh, cringy. like, because I'd be like, that seems a little bit like insensitive to like the people that like were killed, because at least they're trying to like showcase they understand that like this is a issue, right? Even though they don't really showcase it very well, as it's more of a political mishap or political fuck up than like a cringe moment. I mean, we just like cringes. I guess a cringe I apply to like different like circumstances, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't think, for example, Dan is trying to say that like there was something wrong in what she did in a certain sense. Just that, like, I think intentions were good. Well, actually, I don't know about that either. But I mean, I think there was part of it where she was trying to get, in a sense, you know, like I feel like those types of symbolic moves are often indicative of people who don't want to necessarily take the time to really speak about or look into policies that can protect the the transgender community and other types of minority communities. And I don't know, they've always rubbed me the wrong way personally.
I think if she really wanted to make a difference, she could get up there and say, hey, I'll make sure when I'm president, I will fight as hard as I can to make sure that trans people are not able to be discriminated no matter what across any issue. But instead we get this wishy-washy, I'm going to get, okay, yeah, that's a concept. But instead we get something going up there, I'm going to go and I'm going to say a bunch of names. And it's like, okay, that doesn't really help policy at all. I'm sure that most people are... I don't know. That I thought that there could have been a lot more meaningful things that could have been said, and it just sounded like you were trying to make it seem like you cared a lot about trans people without putting anything forward that mattered, that was going to rustle any feathers of anyone in your people who voted for you who didn't like trans people.
Yeah, like if you want to draw attention to the discrimination that trans people face, why not actually give us the statistics that are harrowing against the treatment of trans individuals. It seemed it was like if you're trying to draw attention to the impact, there's a better way to do that. So I don't know.
Oh yeah,
they could have literally gone up there and like.
Well, hold on, real quick. I wanted to get Cynthia's take on this real quick.
I mean, yeah, I agree with Rem. They could have just like, if they really wanted to highlight it, it's not hard to find the statistics on like how much trans people are like sexually assaulted, how much they commit suicide, and it's, I don't know, I don't even think gender stuff is that hard to learn necessarily. So like it doesn't seem like you would have to put a whole shit ton of time into it, and it seems like it would be something that would be really good for the left to learn, because that's, I mean, well, as far as I know, that's where a lot of the trans people reside. I know there's like Nazi trans people as well, which is like a weird sect.
You're a bit robot-y, I have to tell you.
I was gonna say.
Oh no.
Your mic does sound a little bit scuffed right now.
As far as the cringe thing, I think I can put that into perspective. The reason it's cringe is I felt like that would be what you would say if you wanted to appear like you cared about trans rights, but you didn't want to piss off anyone in your coalition whatsoever.
Yeah,
so
way of engaging.
I'm
with
not
trans
disagreeing on the idea that the performative nature of it could be a cringe element there. Like I said, I think the problem was that the way that it was phrased, I didn't like what element was like calling cringe. Like it just calling it happening cringe was like, I guess.
Yeah, for instance, it'd be like
general.
If someone was talking about like African American issues and they said like, every year I'm going to take a day and I'm going to read a Martin Luther King book or something. And you'd be like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, how about just, you understand like the kind of logic? It's like, that's nice, I guess. But like, how about doing something that matters here on this front?
Sure, but I mean, almost
it does seem like she's towing the line. She's trying to pander. Like it seems it's the fucking hot sauce in the bag shit, but with trans people, it feels like it's a little less. It's a little less aggressive. I think it's not like as aggressive pandering, because at least it's at least it's acknowledgement, right? And that's more positive than the hot sauce in the bag thing. But right, it's attempting to toe the line without actually pissing anyone off, because you say, oh, I will fight for trans rights, right? You're up there, and now it's the shrill aggressive woman yelling about trans rights when I don't like trans people or this, that, like the moderate base doesn't like.
No, that's
right?
a lot of it, right? Like,
Upheaval,
you have to remember,
right?
Biden's the front runner. And imagine who votes for Biden, right? And that's essentially who Warren's trying to take voters away from. Do you think that Warren's taking away a lot of people that are like trans fans? Or, I don't know how to say that, but you know what I mean? Like, they're taking some.
That's how I identify.
They're taking away a bunch of fucking boomers. And the
I'm
last
not
thing
an
that
ally.
Yes, the trans fandom. Yes.
a bunch
Trans
of fucking, boomers that don't give a fuck about trans rights or anything, Democrat or not. They're fucking old. They want to know about Social Security and taxes.
Unfortunately, true.
Yeah. So yeah, of course.
Sure, but I mean, you could probably use that, you know, the argument of like, oh well, I mean, almost every Democrat debate, almost every Democrat candidate I've seen so far has been into like pretty cringy to the fucking extreme. Then, if we're using like that like standard as a way of judging them, like I've seen every fucking Democrat candidate
I think that's a
come
fair
out and say the
assessment,
most
honestly.
like woke
Yeah.
shit,
Honestly,
like trying
yeah.
to convince people.
Sure.
I mean, fucking Amy
Yeah,
Klobuchar and that
if-
fucking debate you just watched with the fucking women shit, like non-fucking stop. Just like, oh, I'm up here for the women for fucking like every time she had a chance to speak, it just pissed me off so much. Especially post the Barack Obama thing where Barack was like, oh, if women were in charge of the world, everything would be fine. I was like,
I actually
I
think the
mean,
DNC might be the
the
biggest producers of cringe in the world, actually. True.
The dim debates actually feel like just a giant gimme for votes. Like it seems like every single
is.
answer is just crafted to like appeal to the audience. It feels like a lot of them just like don't actually give a shit about the issues. They just give a shit about like their position. And like maybe Bernie is less than that, but like it seems like a lot of it is that.
I wanted to touch on that actually, because like I think we touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to get y'all's opinions on like, because apparently a lot of people are saying that Bernie didn't answer the question about trans issues properly because he shifted towards healthcare, I guess, like single payer. Why do you guys have any opposition to that, or do you guys think that that's
Yeah, I don't
know,
think
problematic?
that was well done. I
I
don't.
I
mean,
think it wasn't something anybody was prepared for, which is like, you know, kind of sad
Yeah.
in a sense.
I feel like
but
Bernie,
like,
Bernie does that though. I feel like Bernie does
I
that
feel
a
like
lot.
that's
I feel like he
also-
just like pivots things. that he
I
doesn't
feel like
have,
he's a
well-
he's like a
well, I
commie
feel
who
like-
reduces everything to class or something.
yeah.
but you just like we just had like a discussion about like how like we don't want people to like just like say, oh yeah, hashtag trans rights, and then like not provide anything. But like
We want policy.
pointing out how, hey, look, my Medicare bill will ultimately help trans people
Yeah.
provide Medicare.
Yeah.
I was-
Like, isn't that what you wanted? Was you wanted to point out where you're
But-
actually going to benefit?
But
from the policy?
it's
Like,
constant. It
you
seems
don't
like
get one on
it's,
top.
it's a lot of reductionism, which is.
But is
Well,
it
I mean-
reductionism when it's
Yeah,
when it's
but, like-
trying to like when you provide a society where those people actually right like when
But
they
that's
have
not
the
going to
right to
get rid
healthcare,
of the,
that
a
is
lot of the. That's not going to get rid of a lot of the discriminatory issues that come from people's attitudes towards these individuals.
no.
Well, yeah-
it's
Right,
not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
here's
so
the
that's
thing. Here's the
Okay,
thing.
mhm.
If he had actually been prepared to answer the question, then like that would have been one thing. But it seems like it kind of caught him off guard. And like,
Yeah.
healthcare isn't even a bad place to go for trans people because that's a pretty like being able to just like fully cover estrogen and anti-androgens and androgens. Like that sounds really fucking appealing. Like not having to
And
pay
it's
for
not
that
just
shit
access,
and like not
yeah,
having really dumb prices for that. Like that sounds really good. So like yeah, I think like that's a pretty valid way to go if you're not actually like
Sorry.
able to answer the question direct.
Yeah,
and not
I
just
mean, like-
access to being able to like transition or getting HRT or whatever, but also like access to therapy and other like mental health things
Yeah,
as well, right?
yeah.
Because like I know like a lot of the trans community suffers from like depression and other stuff like that, and tackling the suicide issue is like hugely important.
yeah, if there
I
was
think he
anything he
pivoted-
was going
he
to pivot
pivoted-
to, I think that
Did he
was
pivot
it.
into mental health? Yeah. Did he? He didn't, did he?
Do you
Well,
guys
no, he
remember on
pivoted
the
to
health
healthcare
issue?
for all.
Sorry,
It's
on-
good
Yeah, but he didn't
connectivity, but-
specifically
Hold on,
talk.
on
If he
the
had
health
specifically
issue,
talked about the mental health, I think
do
he
you
would have
guys
been actually like a
remember-
very good response.
Mhm.
Do you remember during the health issue when the moderator asked Bernie, "Hey, listen, if you can't pass your stuff, what type of more incremental stuff would you do?" And Bernie just said, "Oh, I won't." Was that like not telling to
No,
anyone?
no, no.
Or-
That's not what he said. He said that no, we will get it done.
Yeah, which is a non-answer.
No, you are right, but he is banking on the Democrats winning the Senate in 2020. So
Right, but I feel not answering that was so just.
I mean, it's ultimately he
apparently
doesn't.
no one cares, but
I mean,
I don't
Yeah,
know.
no,
I think,
people
I
don't
think
care.
it's
Like, you could
a
ask, like,
political
questions-
move in a sense, right? Like the second you start giving out this early, like the second people are going to like try to push you more and more and jump on that, right? Like for example, we know Yang isn't gonna get, if he gets in somehow, it's not gonna be $1,000. It's gonna be like $500 or less. You know, I think if you
Or
start,
nothing at all.
you know,
Or nothing
yeah.
at all.
or nothing at
Yeah,
all. I
or
think if you
not
start
nothing
giving
at all because he
ground-
can't put.
Yeah, if you
I
start
don't-
giving ground this early when it comes to this stuff, I don't think you're going to get very far when it comes to pushing it forward, like further down the line, because people are going to be like, he's already willing to compromise, focus on like pulling him more this way, right? So I think at least like early on, it's important to have these strong values and be like, yeah, no, this is going to happen.
Sure. I think also another element of that is you have to remember like we are in this is the debate part of the process here, so it's predominantly performative, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, he's not going to like say, oh, well, actually, here's my backup plan in case things go that way, because that makes him look weaker as far as it goes in a like polling sense kind of thing, right? So like, it's designed, it's political, like it's basically designed to be the most politically advantageous positions, even if those positions might not be the most like actual like realistic ones for like going into like actual office kind of thing, right? It's the most ones that will potentially get you into power kind of thing. That's for every candidate across the board is going to be doing the exact same thing, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like you could ask pretty much any candidate how they'll deal with their policies in the face of Republican opposition, but that's like a legitimate question, no matter who you're talking about or which policy you're talking about.
I mean, but here's the issue that like Warren does have a plan to it, but like when Warren released her, for instance, like talked about that, there was massive backlash. I think we have like a perfect example of what would have happened had he like given the incremental like answer, which is what potentially people like are looking for in that question, right? It's not like he doesn't have a better answer to it because there, I mean, maybe there isn't one, right? Like,
Well,
if you're
I'm sorry. It just feels like people go so hard on Biden because they say he has like lukewarm plans and lukewarm takes, and like even Biden's like lukewarm take, that's going to be incredibly difficult to pass, and that's like nowhere near what like someone like Bernie is after. And just like I don't know, it seems like so just. I hate the fact that like politicians just consistently fucking lie, and people are like, you know, standing certain ones like, oh, mine's better. Like, bro, Bernie's lying like a motherfucker. Just like Yang, just like Color, because there's no fucking chance that in 2 years that you guys are going to have, you know, whatever, universal health coverage or $1,000 a month.
But what about in 4, right? Like,
no.
No, but this is psychology 101, right?
So,
like
okay, well,
when
yeah,
you have
right.
two sides, well, when you have like two sides, right? Or at least what we see or have seen, everybody always wants to feel like you compromised a little bit, or the person went further to you, so it feels like a fucking win for you, even if it wasn't, right? So it's kind of even like Trump in a sense, right? You start all the way with, we're gonna build like 1,000 like mile wall or whatever, like super large. You know that's not going to happen, but hey, we got like this much money, and if it wasn't for the damn Democrats, we could have gotten more. But I'm fulfilling my promise here. You know, I'm doing the best I can in this scenario. It's literally that same fucking logic across the board, and I think that's why so many people are hesitant about Biden, because it seems like the further middle you start, the further right you're going to be when it comes to compromising.
Yeah, but
I mean, this is two separate, like you're having like two separate arguments here. Like the first one is like against the idea of them like going in and promising like utopian vision as a way of like trying to like appeal to people, right? Like, but that's a different thing. Like you normally, and the best way to do is to, yeah, like Pxie said, aim for what you definitely want, and then as you like, and when you actually get in, you start like basically making concessions as a way to actually try and get something across, basically. The other thing here is the other argument would be against the very concept of like democracy in itself, right? Which is that the politicians are going to promise things that are going to get the votes, because that's the way that a representative democracy works. I mean, you need to go in and like drastically change your entire system as a way to fix that issue. And like you've already said, like how the fuck is the USA gonna do that, right? They can't even like do like the minorest fucking changes. Like, well, fix gerrymandering first before you get to like that shit. But like yeah, like I mean, like this like is like another thing. Like it's like the democratic system, like in almost every country, has the same issues all over again. It's Democrats, politicians will promise what they need to get the votes that they will get to get in, right?
Do you think? Okay, yeah, sure. I'm not sure what to say. I mean, if we're just assuming that candidates can fucking lie, then yeah, I'm fucking with Joe, the one fucking candidate.
Well, they can, right? Obviously,
that has a chance of going to. Wait, no, because Joe Biden has a fucking chance of putting what he's saying into practice. The other candidates.
Well, no, because we know that when it comes to practice, at least like look at Obama and stuff, or look at almost any politician before that, they never get exactly what they want. They always have to concede to a further left or further right. So we know, like with your logic, Biden is also lying because he's not going to get his exact policy passed. He's going to get something further right.
There's no reason that Biden can't do what he's done, because it's all paid for, it's thought through, and there's actual dollars attached to all of it that can make it happen. It's a fucking very big difference between, hey, let's just double the amount of money the government spends every year. These are things that on different scales that are fucking possible of happening.
But acting like no. But it's so disingenuous to just talk about like the doubling of the money, because it like the amount of money that is spent by this country in fucking healthcare is ludicrous. Okay. Right, like we spend more per capita than anyone else. So acting like there is no way to save money on that, and that there is like that money that's not going in through other means. If you taxed everyone what they paid in healthcare per year, who's to say that that won't pay for the vast majority of it? Because people spend ludicrous amounts of money on healthcare in this country.
Oh yeah, well, there's an answer to that. Is that people who are middle class or above don't want their healthcare insurance to experience to turn into a DMV trip. I'm one of them. I don't want it. I don't want to be on the same fucking medical plan as you. I mean, I'm sorry that this is like so shocking for you guys. I don't want to go fucking take a ticket and wait a month.
And we fundamentally disagree on that because we believe that healthcare and your access to it should not be constricted by the amount of capital that you produce for this country.
Not even that. It's not like every governmental department has to be a DMV, right?
Right? No, people constantly wait anyways, even if you're upper middle class or middle class. Like, oh my God, that bill might be kind of expensive, or my health insurance is gonna go up. Might as well wait like a week or a month to see if this goes away before I decide to go to the doctor. Like, this waiting already happens. Like, we already see it happening like pretty constant. So this whole idea of like, oh, but it's faster. Is it really? If you're waiting like a week or a couple of weeks or a month?
I can pair this all out for you very simply. The health insurance industry is one of the biggest in the country. It employs a lot of people. It has a lot of lobbyists. Okay, those jobs want to stay being fucking jobs as a result of that. They don't want to go anywhere. And the people that are the senators and the congressmen, they don't want those people to be unemployed. So these are businesses that are going to stay, right? That's a fact. We're not going to wake up tomorrow and the healthcare insurance industry is going to be fucking gone. We're not putting out all these people.
Dan, if like those same type of people were manufacturing like I don't know,
a slow and steady crawl towards a better system.
Yeah, no. What if like all those people in those jobs were manufacturing something like completely useless, for example?
But they're not.
But let's suppose that they were.
They are.
Okay, so they're manufacturing.
What value?
The point is like, why do you care so much about these jobs?
But ask him the fucking value. What value does fucking middle, like, other than being the arbiter for rich people?
I can answer that. Profit drives innovation. There's a reason that most of the advances that we have.
How do you innovate the trip to a fucking generalist for a checkup every month? How the fuck do you innovate that?
You innovate ways to extract value off the top of the handing off the money. That's how you do it.
It's hilarious because when you look at the amount of money they put into research, it's minimal to like the paychecks, to the like advertising, to almost anything. Like the majority of this funding already comes from public taxpayer dollars or universities who are already studying this. This idea that like, oh, well, a lot of this money spending into research for new medicine isn't even true.
No, it's not. Most of the funding does, yeah. I mean, but the funniest thing to me is that Republicans, they hate bureaucracy so much, right? They hate, all these basically useless jobs, and it's a waste of money. And then at the same time, that is literally what goes on in the private healthcare sector, and they have absolutely zero issue with it. So
I guess it comes down to the point if you think that the government is going to be a better arbiter between
absolutely
well, not the government directly, but the government drives a lot of research, right?
Why do you say that when we have a
because my existing experiences that I have with the government.
What about other countries?
Okay. Listen, we're not talking about other countries. The United States is
no, but hold on.
Are we worse than them? Can we not do what other countries do? I thought America is like awesome and could do like a shit ton of stuff.
Honestly, if you're not making 6 figures, you don't deserve healthcare. There you go. Bam.
That's not what I'm saying.
I think, just jumping on the innovation idea.
No, but if you're poor, you don't deserve doctor visits.
That's not what I'm saying.
We have to pay. We have to pay too much money. But to encourage innovation in the pap smear sphere, okay, that cannot be given unless it costs $3,000, okay? Right, the ambulance that I took when I was drunk.
This isn't fair to Dan. Like I agree, Dan's argument
it's unfair,
is
but
bad.
also his shit's unfair.
But
right?
you're
using unfair arguments. I'm gonna fucking
help anyone.
I'm gonna straw man the fuck out of it. Well, I'm angry. I'm not trying to be helpful.
Yeah, but this might make. But look, if the people we're trying to convince at the end of the day are people like Dan, straw manning is not going to change anyone's minds.
No, I'm not trying to.
Why not directly address the argument?
I'm not trying to convince the rich of why they should give to the poor.
No, I'm not saying. No,
that's a terrible thing.
Literally buy elections, and they will continue to do it. You know that's the case.
Until we eat you. Until one day we wake up and we consume your flesh for breakfast, buddy.
Yes. Okay, well, I mean, if we're playing imagination, I'd like to have like a fucking golden toilet as well.
I can't tell if North is memeing or not.
I don't know. It's so fucking stupid. Do we want to just completely disregard how politics in this country work?
Yeah. I agree. Dan's argument is bad, but the way that people are responding to it is even worse.
So I blanked out for like 10 seconds because it got real fucking memey for a second there. What the fuck actually? What happened? Like I was like on the innovation train talking about like how like we were talking about like how like private innovation is not necessarily like the same as public innovation, where private innovation quite often can be stuff that like is innovated to be more marketable rather than to be actually more beneficial to the majority of people. Like I mean, like a good example of like the recent one was that fucking like I mean, everyone's seen the fucking like 15-degree angled, like 30-degree angled toilet or some shit, right? Where it's like it's innovated as a way to ensure that people won't spend so much time on toilets, which is well about like its actual beneficialness to like the workers and stuff is beneficial because it's like it increases the it's an innovation purely for economic gain with regards to the corporations and stuff, right? There's a lot of like that kind of situations where corporations will stunt innovation as a way of ensuring that they can still have economic advantages, right? I mean, oil companies and climate change is a very good one that everyone remembers. Like, I mean, do we doubt that like healthcare companies or private insurance companies have like possibly stunted certain like health innovations as a way of ensuring that they can maintain market control? Like, I doubt there's any way that hasn't happened, right? To some degree.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I think it can go both ways. Do we think that the government is a great example of like being frugal? I mean, so here's the question: do you want to employ as many people or as minimal as possible? Because with no competition in the government, I can tell you that we can certainly get rid of a lot of jobs right away.
Dan, my argument here is who they're responsible to, right? I mean, a corporation, a private company, is responsible to its shareholders, whereas a government is responsible to the people that compromise that, like, or vote in the people for that government, right?
Let me ask you a question.
Who they're responsible to.
Have you seen like Last Week Tonight or like any of these other shows? Have you watched any on the VA and how long it takes to get?
I mean,
are you excited about that being your new only option for healthcare? Because I'm not.
Argue that VAs.
I mean, I don't live in the.
Yeah, isn't that one of the most popular programs?
Like universal health. We already have universal health care.
I mean, there's parts of the VA that does well, but there's parts that are horrible. You're asking me if I want to go to some of these things. I mean, yeah, there's real fucking problems that exist with.
What parts of the VA are horrible?
Do you not remember the huge fucking backlog of veterans trying to get benefits going back years? And people going up there literally having to fight Congress to get it.
82% of veterans express high patient satisfaction.
Well, I guess
how do we demonstrate that these are immutable qualities?
This is from this year. 82%, Dan.
I'm just curious.
I understand, as opposed to like. Okay.
As opposed to like probably less than 20% who are satisfied.
That's not what I'm trying to say here. 82% are happy, but there's very real flaws and very real problems that need to be addressed.
Absolutely, but those flaws are outweighed by. Hold on. But the flaws are far outweighed by the flaws that are inherent in the private healthcare system.
I'm not.
Nothing's
sure
perfect, Dan.
I think that because I disagree with you. I don't think that a single payer system is better than having an Obamacare type system.
Can I ask you then? What is intrinsically different about the American political system, okay, that makes it so impossible to do what every other country has done? What is it? What is the feature of the American government system?
Well, you could argue actually that Citizens United is a pretty important feature of the American election system, or the electoral college or whatever. But yeah, I mean these things are not immutable for sure.
It's hard. I can't really nail down one thing specifically. I'd want to point to a lot of different factors, but I don't know which one is most relevant in this case. I'd say that we're a very large country. I'd say that we're a leader of economic power in the world. I say that we're the most diverse country in the world. I'd say that we have rampant consumerism, which has some of the most unhealthy people in the world. Take all of these things, combine them together, and then you get something that's different than fucking Norway.
Hold on. What about that makes it implausible to have a single payer system? Each of those, what about diversity is going to make it harder to have a single payer system?
It's complicated. Again, I don't think I can answer this.
But rich people want better healthcare than you. That's what the diversity is.
I mean, I think that to a certain extent,
that's what the diversity.
I mean, come on, I'm actually having a conversation with Dan here. No need to.
No, but that's actually true. That's legitimately fucking true. That's what it is.
I don't think that's wrong to say. I think that United States is a very capitalist country, and I think that if you've been in this country long enough, you have it ingrained to a certain extent. You know that wealth buys privilege, and I think you're going to be in a very strange spot. Or if you have someone saying that they,
Canada is also a very.
Hold on, because I know you can choose your doctor, but I'm saying. Losing a choice here.
What is the real difference between Canada, in terms of our economic systems? They are we are both welfare states. Both Canada and the United States are welfare states.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get Pixie's thoughts on this real quick.
Hello?
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
What happened?
No, I was just gonna say you wanted to jump in, right?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, it cut out for me. So here's the thing, like this whole argument of like choice is already kind of faulty, right? When we have our insurance providers, we're only allowed to go to like certain doctors, or only have certain medicines covered. If your insurance is under your company, then it's even more restricted. Like this whole idea of like you can
Those
choose
things
your
are not
doctor.
true.
What do you mean it's not true? Does your insurance
it depends
provider...
if you're on an HMO or if you're on the PPOE or whatever. Fuck, I forgot. There's two. With HMO, yeah, you're limited. On the other one, you're pretty much not limited.
But for the vast majority of people, aren't they covered by their employers, like healthcare plans?
Probably most, but yeah, it depends. Some.
So you don't have real right, like within that healthcare package, most companies.
No, there's different plans you can choose.
Probably don't provide. Like I don't have experience.
No, you have multiple
that I
options
work
to
for had a good
choose.
health
Well,
plan.
yeah, no, you
But, like,
choose the plan, but that plan still limits the doctors you can go to or the medicine that it provides.
I mean, if you choose the fucking bargain shit tier plan, then yeah, you're gonna be on an HMO plan.
The one that most people can afford.
Yeah, so not everyone has options.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't understand. What I think a better system is probably some sort of grants from the government, some sort of payment based on health, and keeping the existing system in place versus completely trying to fuck everything up and put everyone into a DMV experience. So that would be my take of how I'd probably want to see it.
Can I ask you, Dan? Are you familiar at all with how the how Canada passed our single payer system? Like, it's a very sort of similar type of story in that there were all of these fears of exactly what you were describing, but the transition ended up saving the overall populace a ton of money in the long run.
Is Canada single payer?
Pardon?
Is Canada single payer?
Yeah, we are a single payer
so
system.
You can't have private insurance in Canada?
You can have private insurance.
So it's not single payer then?
No, on dental.
That's it. You can't. What about other things, cosmetic surgery, etc.? Does that not exist in Canada?
I don't know about cosmetic surgery.
You're telling me I can't get a boob
pharma,
shot?
Pharma, dental, and cosmetic. But what's your point?
Just something here, like literally, like New Zealand has the exact same thing as the Canada model, right? Where you can there is like private insurance. It does exist for like cosmetic surgery stuff and dentistry, but everything else is a single payer healthcare system.
Yeah. So what's the point Dan's trying to make?
You can pick your doctors, right? You can choose your doctors.
Yes, you can.
No, I would just say in general, I've been displeased with a lot of the government experiences that I've had, and that I would be nervous.
In the United States, I understand.
In the United States, yes.
Yeah, no. I understand. Yes, I understand that, but I think that hold on. I believe that is but that's in part because you have this division between private and public. So the government is obviously going to be limited in a certain sense of what it can actually do.
Well, I mean, not only that, but the Republicans have like a pretty long history at this point of defunding public programs and then complaining about how ineffectual they are. Like,
yeah, that's literally the whole shtick.
With private companies. Yes, I don't want all of a sudden a new president comes in and I get a radically different form of care or anything like this. I don't like that. Okay, now you're asking me.
What would be a radically different form of care?
Okay, like let's say a new president comes in and says, "Listen, we have to change the way taxes."
What if you get fired, Dan?
I'm answering.
Or if a new president comes in and dismembers Obamacare.
Wait, I wanted to know what Dan's answer was.
Okay. Again, to the point here, I don't like the idea of my healthcare being determined by who's the president this year and what programs they're trying to fund. So that's my answer.
In the same way that a lot of people don't like their healthcare being tied to what employer they're currently with, because that limits them like incredibly in terms of like professional opportunities and growth in any independent kind of industry, like streamers, especially. Like this is like obviously you're talking to a lot of streamers. Of course, streamers think that you should fucking have healthcare provided like not through employment, because we never fucking get healthcare through employment. Like that won't fucking happen. It should be a thing that's an independent of your fucking healthcare, independent of your fucking employment.
Yeah,
there should be some fucking essential free healthcare that you can get. Okay, that's what you should get. I definitely agree that no one should not have
you should. And then for pharmaceuticals,
but I don't agree with me being able
cosmetics and dental, you should be able to pay extra because those are largely cosmetic things or incredibly experimental things that need a profit incentive to work properly. What area of your care needs innovation? Because I agree with the premise that innovation is driven by profit in a lot of cases. Where do you need a profit incentive in your healthcare outside of pharmaceuticals? Like developmental pharma. Where do you need a profit
developmental
incentive?
pharma? How does that have to do with an insurance company? I'm not.
because insurance companies are the ones who pay the pharmaceutical companies for the medicine.
Sure.
That's where they make
fine.
their money.
Okay.
So
well, I guess you could
where
have an
no,
argument
in
being
the
that
Canadian system, in your current healthcare, where do you need a different standard of care from everyone else in an area that is not in pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, or dentistry?
Sure. So the idea being that wealthy people would pay more to have additional levels of care that the average
What
sober,
specific level of
I mean,
care
if I
in
can
your
talk,
care?
I
Hold
can
on,
keep
I want to
going.
hear his response.
Okay, the idea being that wealthy people would be able to pay more and funnel more money into the system to get a higher standard of care or get access to things that people on essentially the dirt government plan couldn't. That would essentially put money into additional programs as a result, instead of having no option whatsoever. And
Like
I know
what?
that this exists in the UK as well, so I don't know
Like
why
what?
this is such a shock. Like, we mean
No,
like
but
what?
like what? Like what in your care that is not as outside of those
I mean, what's a
three
really
categories?
shitty example of this? If like I had something wrong with me and I wanted to spend like $50,000 to go see fucking Dr. House, instead of seeing fucking whoever happens to be like, on my local plan here, that would be an example of putting money in the system. Okay, does that make sense to you?
Well, couldn't we just allow for supplemental insurance? That way, like people
No,
like you
can't,
can.
because then the whole system fucking collapses unless you force everyone onto it. The second you have supplemental insurance,
I don't
it
think
all
that's
falls
true.
apart.
There's other governments that have universal health care and allow for supplemental health care insurance plans. Isn't that true?
Well,
I mean, you can
that's
still
what the
pay
UK
to go
is.
see Dr. House, though. Like, you can still pay to go. Like, you can pay to go and see that specialist. Specialists are available to you, even if you're not on the insurance. And obviously, they cost money, but you can fucking afford it, can't you?
So I can
Are you
go and I
poor?
can have no. I would go have a different insurance plan that allowed me to go to see what doctor I wanted to bypass lines, to not have to deal with sort of government bureaucracy. Yeah, I would be on that plan, and as a result of that, that plan would suffer. Don't you?
Yeah, it
I
would.
mean, not my plan, your plan.
No,
Do you know why
would.
it would
And you
suffer?
shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, but see, the
You
thing
should
is,
not
the
be able to
wealthy-
skip lines in
Yeah,
society.
well, would the wealthy people pretty much control the elections, and the wealthy people don't want to be on
Sure.
this type of
Should
system?
they? Should they?
Oh, I mean, if we're talking about should or is going to happen, these are
No. I'm talking about should. Should
Oh,
they?
well, should. I mean, I would like to have, like, a lot of
No,
things that
but
aren't going to
right. Answer the
apply.
question though. They shouldn't, obviously.
I don't know. Are we talking should?
And
in
we're
the
fighting
moral
for
sense?
We're trying to
change.
speak
We're fighting for
prescriptively
change.
here because we're on a round table.
I mean, if we're
No, but-
if we're talking about what's real, I'm trying to go a basis of reality of being passed, and you're going on what morally feels right. So, on what morally feels right, then yeah, sure, we should. There should be a girlfriend for every boy and boyfriend for every girl,
Oh,
and vice
no.
versa. and be-
Okay.
No, but see,
Before we get
like,
into insult
don't strawman
territory,
the
if
podcast.
you wanna
What's
talk
the
about-
Like,
okay,
when
if
you
you want
move
to
to
talk about
cringing,
reality, we can look
whatever.
at 8 years of Obama. We can look at, almost like the last 10 years or more of American politics, and we see the thing that I was describing before, right? That doesn't matter where in the spectrum you start, you're going to concede a little bit. So I don't understand this idea that Biden is going to get what he says passed through. When you look at all these other politicians in the past, like recent history, that haven't been able to do that at all, no matter how moderate or centrist they are.
Because there's two fucking differences. Biden has a chance of getting it because it's realistic. Bernie's plan.
I'm talking about Obama.
Wait.
I'm talking. What do
Now
you,
we're
do you
talking
think
about
Biden and
likelihood of
Obama are
Wait,
radically?
no one was saying that what Obama was trying to do was impossible to do. It was very possible to do, and there was a benefit for a private corporation to a certain extent. The idea was very simple. You force everyone to buy health insurance, and as a result of that, you get very real gains for everyone else. You have pre-existing conditions covered. You have other things because this made up the shortfall for the insurance companies as a result of that. That was something that could happen. But
Wait. But I have an honest question.
Sure.
Obama was his original plan, his original promise or whatever. Was he able to get that passed through, or did he have to concede?
I have to look exactly.
Obama started with a public option. They worked him back to what we got in the end, which is Obamacare.
Okay, so
he had
are we
to
going to public option again then?
What I would argue is that you start with a single payer option or a single payer plan, and you work your way back to a public option. That seems like that'd be like the best strategy.
Sure. Also, I think there's two other things.
Why would you not just?
There's two things I want to find. First one was the and this is way back at this point. It's kind of almost pointless to bring up, but the ethnicity thing with America or diversity thing with America is like a point that's to bring up because America's diversity is about the same as most Western countries at this point, if not slightly worse than like certain places like New Zealand or Australia, right? Like, I mean, ethnicity-wise, it's mostly 70%, 75%ish white. It's like across the board for Australia and everywhere else, right? Like, your diversity isn't that much more crazy than other places. It's like actually average. So like that's an important thing to bring up with regards to like any kind of like policy making stuff. The second thing to bring up here is that the universal healthcare thing as like a single payer option thing is something that's been put into place because it's going to cost a lot of money right now because you're trying to put an initial plan in over the course of 10 years, whereas a lot of countries in the world have already done this over the course of like 15, 20 years kind of thing previously. The initial investment is going to be a huge amount of money, sure, of that 10-year span, but over the long period of time, it will eventually end up saving a lot more money by the reductions that it brings later on, right? Like that's like the thing. It's like initial investment's huge, but over a longer period of time, it ends up working itself out to be more beneficial.
I mean, I guess you
It's
can
most
say
things
the
I've
same
seen.
thing. A lot of people say the same thing about like climate change, and we're having a tremendous amount of difficulty even passing that, where there's actual science saying a lot of these things about how we're going to save trillions of dollars if we just act now, and we can't do that. And that's with something that's like
science on the universal healthcare thing. I mean,
that's a very different level of science, saying that giving someone essentially this healthcare is going to push back into the economy, like saying that we're going to save. Wait, sorry, let me start over here. Where do you think exactly the difference is? You're saying the science is there in healthcare that's going to pay for itself?
So the science and the healthcare would come from the examples from other countries that have put a similar sort of process into place, right? Where like the initial thing was a large investment, sure, from across the board, especially moving from a conservative health system, which most places did end up having in the past, right? I mean, like that was a thing that a lot of countries ended up having to do. Like the same thing with the UK, same with fucking New Zealand and Australia and all those kind of things, right? Like had the same kind of issue where it was an large initial investment, but post that investment, we've seen that overall, like the healthcare system has been cheaper than it would have been before the investment you put in. Like that's like the example that's been drawn there, right? Like is it like it's a comparative, like the investment is a big thing that scares people off initially, but post that investment, it looks like it like ends up coming even being much cheaper long run.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a question if you can somehow convince most of the voting public that that's the case. I think if we can't, I mean, I don't know. I'm skeptical. That's all.
Just I'm still kind of stuck on some Gutian. I guess I'm just still kind of stuck on something, Dan, because like this whole idea that like his is the most realistic, therefore it will pass. To me, like that doesn't make sense. Even though like logic tells us that. Even though logic tells us that our past like historical examples have not shown that at all. It's shown that like literally everybody has to concede or change or move themselves more towards their opposition if they want to get anything passed. So it just seems like, I don't even agree with you on this, but let's say I did. Let's say I agree with that. Biden's is the one that makes the most sense, most realistic, the best one. Doesn't fucking matter, because when he gets on that stage, if he becomes president, and when negotiation starts, you think Republicans are going to be like, you know what, we're going to pass exactly what you said?
Yeah, exactly.
No, they want to bring something back to like look at their base. Like, you see, Biden had this horrible idea of whatever, but we changed it towards this because we're the good guys. So like,
that depends on how good a politician he is, and also you're arguing against ridiculous things. You're saying, oh, well, my candidate's better because he's saying something that has no chance to pass. Okay, well, then I'm going to give everyone $1 million free healthcare and a Ferrari.
No,
I think I'm even better than Bernie now.
Pxie brings up a fair point here. Like, what's so special or unique about Biden that would make like Republicans, put away their war flags and say like, oh, you know what, we're actually going to work with a Democrat for once.
Well, I mean, it depends. If Biden has enough experience and enough things to negotiate and actually go, and Republicans are willing to negotiate to him, then yeah, I think that there can be things. You're going to have to compromise.
I'm just really doubtful.
This is fucking. Republicans already look at Biden as a freaking crook with the whole Ukraine thing.
I mean, they're already dropping like literal socialist memes on him.
I strongly doubt they're gonna turn overnight. Like, you know what? Biden's actually kind of okay. Like,
Biden is an establishment
to me that's more
person who has a chance of getting things done. You want to talk about voting and passing bills? Let's look at what Bernie's done compared to Biden. Would you like to do that?
No, let's stay on Biden for a second, because
I mean, we can if you want. We can compare Bernie and Biden as far as passing bills. Is that something we want to do?
I don't even know if that's like it feels like a non sequitur point. What we're talking about is like whether or not Biden would be an effective negotiator with Republicans.
Okay, well, he's passed a lot of bills. He's gotten a lot of stuff done. Things that some of these other candidates haven't gotten things done.
Sure, I just don't know. If we're talking about the contemporaneously speaking, the Republican Party, like I don't know what incentives they would have to suddenly work with the Democratic president when they haven't seemed so
no one's gonna do it.
On that.
No one's gonna do it.
Well, we have to flip the Senate, right? I mean, I think we all agree on that. But like, otherwise, we have some. I'm gonna keep throwing out these doomer takes.
And which candidate is going to inspire more actual, right, like more people like in more grassroots movements is I think like an actual concern for a lot of Bernie supporters, because they legitimately believe an establishment candidate is worse because it doesn't excite people, right? Like change and the prospect of change excites people, even if you think that it's unrealistic.
Well, no, I think that's a very small, vocal, what you'd call online left, who has almost no actual real value towards any indication of where politics are going. You can look at that with Labour in the UK right now. It doesn't matter, right? The online left is extremely vocal, but has no real effort on change whatsoever. See, like, if you ask me, Dan, who's gonna win? I'd say fucking, and I base that off Twitter, Bernie, no fucking doubt. Are you shitting me? Bernie's gonna fucking just destroy every other candidate. What's the reality? Fucking Biden's.
I don't like the comparison of UK politics to like US politics, because as a whole, like,
I think Dan's right on this one. Yeah,
Wait,
I think he's right.
Pxie?
Yeah.
I don't think he's right, because if you look at the UK election, the fact that Labour was put in this position with this Brexit position, where I mean Corbyn essentially had to find a way to keep both of their bases, one who is hardcore Remain and one who is hardcore Brexit. What the fuck? What did you expect? That it's not at all comparable. It's an awful analogy, Dan.
I mean, I think we expected.
But I think in terms of the relative populations of like social Dems and like the Twitter left, I think like relatively in terms of like their vocality, it's a fair comparison.
Totally.
But I don't think
the entire election was based on Brexit.
No, but I think that it's a non sequitur, because the only way that you would ever increase like that population in the first place is to like vote for people who are who are somewhat viable candidates in that position and try and enact change in that way. Just because right now, like, just because the vocal left doesn't have as many people as it should, doesn't mean not voting for people who support the ideas of that like constituency. That's not like that's the only way that you change like roll the ball towards them, is you have to start somewhere. Right, I think that it's a non sequitur, because you're not pushing towards that by just voting for establishment candidates over and over and over again, because that's always what's going to happen, right? Like if you don't ever take a chance, you don't ever try and go for the candidate that's in support of change, you'll always end up with more establishment fucking politics.
First off, I think this goes on a cycle. Second off, I don't think most people want the type of change that's being pushed to this level. I mean, there's some incremental parts that are nice, but I think Bernie's time, I said this before, Bernie's time was last election. Now, with Trump, people want a return to normalcy. Last election, it was like, fuck, this is just boring. That was Bernie's time to go in there and shake shit up. Now, ask anyone what they want. They just want to not talk about the president anymore. They just want to go on their lives and not have Trump on the fucking news every day, tweeting some crazy shit. North Korea, just let me forget that the fucking government exists and go on my life. We want to return to normalcy, and I think that that's going to be a difficult challenge.
I agree.
Like Bernie
that's why, but that no one's. I don't think anyone really disagrees with that. I think that like that's why Biden is the most viable candidate. I think
I disagree.
Look, okay, look. From at least what I know, correct me if I'm wrong. You have a certain percentage of like Trump's fan base who like love him, completely in love with him, and even people who don't love him who are like, well, the economy is good right now, so I just want to like continue voting for him. Right, you do have a good percentage of the population who just wants Trump out, right? And they're gonna vote for whoever the fuck is in Trump because they hate Trump. And then you have a percentage of like progressives or like even like young folks or like middle-aged folks who are like, well, why am I gonna vote for establishment or whatever? It's basically kind of like I'm fucked either way. So to me, when you take like all these populations into account, it's going to be like, who the fuck is Biden gonna motivate? He has appeal of like freaking oatmeal, and the people who like might have like appeal to him or whatever.
Say opium?
Oatmeal.
I was gonna say opium is
very appealing.
Yeah, no, oatmeal. But yeah, the people who like might have voted for him or whatever, who are in like that older age demographic, like, do they even have incentive to? Like, the economy is like doing pretty well right now towards them. So like, what's the fucking point of change?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a real challenge that the left has coming up here, is that things are, for the most part, okay right now.
Just to jump in here with this kind of thing, right? So what Pxie's describing there
maybe they're okay.
Wait, hold on. I want Gushin to respond. Yeah,
you can go.
Thank you. So what's being described here is populism, right? Is populist tactics, is populist division amongst society, right? It's a thing that we've seen before in the past. It's a thing that we've been seeing recently in the past 5 or 6 years with regards to the UK and the US especially. In the USA right now, there is currently it's estimated to be about 30 to 35% of people who will vote for Trump regardless of what happens with regards to any impeachment, with regards to any kind of like whatever comes out about him. Like I said, like if he goes and shoots somebody on fucking whatever street he said he was going to shoot somebody, they would probably still vote for him at the end of the day, because they are basically dedicated to that candidate. candidate and to what he says, because at the end of the day, they've been pushed to that point by predominantly Steve Bannon's campaign during the 2016 election, which was an incredibly well-run populist campaign. Steve Bannon also did the same thing in the UK, where he ran a similar, very divisive campaign that effectively targeted the there's a group of people that's called the middle percentage people, which effectively during a populist campaign is very important, because you have about 30 to 35% of people who will vote for left or vote for right, regardless of whatever, like what they do. But there's a middle percentage of people who are not normally targeted, who are the main group that you want to be going for with populist in a populist thing, right? And those people you get through stuff like social media, and you get to them through aggressive campaigning on stuff like we need to fear the immigrants, we need to fear, like we need to put up a wall kind of thing, or the corporations are still taking away all your healthcare and your rights and stuff, right? Like all those are populist messages that are designed to get those people energized into politics and stuff, right? That's a very popular that's a message you need to adopt in the US, because that's US as it stands right now, because that's what it mostly is moved to as a model of like political society basically in the US. So the idea that's like a normal right now, I think, is a real fucking like sheltered one, because there's a huge amount of people in the US who don't think it's normal and don't think it's okay, and are really worried and are willing to vote for whoever the fuck is giving them any option out of this kind of thing, right?
No, I don't agree, actually. I think that for most people across the board, they're not really putting this towards a political candidate. Like, I'll give you the example. What you're saying is that there's the left, the right, and then the middle. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think you have the left and the right. There is a middle, but it's very small. You have the left and the right, and you have different outcomes of how many people are coming to vote election day, and that's it. So there's your left and your right, but there's a certain excitement level of how many people from each side are going to come out and vote. It's kind of boring.
The middle's not like a centrist. The middle is not like centrist. The middle is a non-voter. It's the I don't care about politics, or the non-aligned voter who has no opinion and like no investment kind of thing. But if you can convince like even 5% of those people to come over and vote for you, that gives you enough to push you over into like the kind of thing. And that's like this isn't me like saying this. This is literally like if you read like Steve Bannon and like Dominic Cummings with regards to like the UK, this is exactly what they're like initial.
It's the no-show votes. It's the no-show votes. You're describing the same thing.
Yeah, both of them were going in with the intention of trying to get even just a small percentage of those people to come and vote for them, because at the end of the day, like the percentage of people who vote is like 70%.
I can kind of tell you why I think this doesn't matter. So the portion that you're talking about, and especially the people, like I would guess pretty much everyone in this call for the most part, that are essentially irrelevant to voters. Boomers matter. That's a fact. Boomers determine election. The people in this call don't. The people in this call, let's just take it, the people under 35, fuck, I wish I had these stats on me again. It's something incredibly small. You take the amount of people in this country that are under like 30 years old, and then you take of that, you have like maybe 60% will vote Democratic. And of that, then you have those that were the smallest voting bases. Young people don't fucking vote. And then you have, you just go through all these issues. Then you have the fact that of those, like 30% of them are going to be Biden for whatever reason. You have such a small, participating minority that these push the issues, all these small things, they just don't matter. Appealing to boomers is way more successful and way more practical. Energizing the left means fuck all. You know what you want to do? You want to get old people out to vote, because they are the ones who will vote. Energizing the left means nothing. I mean, that's a fact.
What evidence do you have to showcase any of what you've just said?
Okay, so literally anything. Do you want to go over voting turnout for people who are 25 and under? We can do that.
Okay, you want to talk about voting turnout? We had a large voting turnout of young people in the UK election recently, but ultimately that didn't end up convincing people to go left wing. In fact, most of the people ended up going for Tories, and that was because of the campaign that went into that kind of thing, right? And like also because of a bunch of stuff around the Brexit Party and around like the Liberal Democrat Party, right? Like I mean, like this idea that like the boomers are the key. They decide everything. Is like, I mean, no. Like I said, you keep saying yeah they are, but like what are you providing beyond just saying that yeah they are? Like,
I also don't understand. We're talking like because this is very much a united, like in Canada, for example. The
I was gonna say this
is like almost the same as like the difference between like 18 to 24 and like 45 to 54 is like, I don't know, less than 10% usually. Like over almost 60% of 18 to 24-year-olds vote in Canada, at least. So I mean, I don't know how, and also when they voted, it was because there was someone, Justin Trudeau, it was someone new who's supposed to bring about big change, so if that's the kind of thing that we want, I mean, we have to go after someone like Bernie, who is going to be able to drive that youth vote,
because that's the middle percentage.
That is not a lot. People that don't normally vote, right? Like the boomers are normally the people in those camps that are already like predetermined to like go for vote.
Yeah,
like,
they're already going to go vote.
They're already predetermined to vote for conservatives. Like you don't want to drive them out because they're already fucking voting. Like it's a pointless thing to like target them effectively.
This is like completely anecdotal or whatever, and it's gonna be a doomer take, and I might get like flashed out for this, but whatever. So here's the deal, right? Like personally, as a young person who like wants to vote or whatever, part of me is like, okay, I have to vote like Democratic candidate no matter what because fuck Trump. But there's still a part of me that's like, what's the fucking point if it's Biden? Like, you know, like,
You said that.
well, no.
Say
I
that-
know.
say that louder.
I will. Chill. I will vote because I understand Trump is like terrible for minorities and shit, right? But I'm not gonna lie that there's a part of me that kind of has like that fucking pessimism, right? That it's like, okay, Biden's gonna get in there and like change, accelerationist hashtag, but not really, right? But I'm just saying that there's a part of me like that. But you know, there would be absolutely no question if I would go vote for Bernie Sanders, right? I wouldn't even have that little like part of me or that little doubt. It would be completely gone. So what I'm trying to get at here is that I'm sure that there's a lot of young people who maybe feel some other way or who have that like accelerationist part even bigger, right? Like the question is like, oh, young people don't vote. But then the question becomes, do young people not vote because perhaps there isn't a candidate that they relate to or like? Like maybe that's the reason they're not voting.
And if you look at the Canadian election, like in 2015, the youth vote like increased by 20% because finally there was a candidate who was not seen as just, you know, I mean, Trudeau is in a sense, it's true that Trudeau wasn't established. His father was literally the PM, but it was actually because of Pierre Trudeau's charisma and his appeal to the youth and talking about issues that really concerned them is what really drove out that vote, both when Pierre Trudeau was elected and when Justin Trudeau was elected. So absolutely, I think you could literally see the youth.
When those pictures of blackface came out, I'm sure a lot of young people related to that. For
well,
sure.
no, I'm talking about the 2015 election.
No, I know, I'm just memeing.
Do you think Trump or Hillary is going to be a bigger challenge for Bernie because he's already lost to Hillary here, right? So I mean,
well, what does that have to do with anything?
I mean, the fact that you're saying that young people this time they're going to come out and vote.
No. I'm talking about in the general election, Dan, because the general election is a whole different beast.
No, I understand that, but I think if there's this level of passion right now, and I guess you could say whatever you want about Debbie Wasserman Schultz poisoning the pool here, I think that we would have had Bernie as our candidate last election, and we didn't because there wasn't enough motivation to push him to be the nominee.
No, but again,
he came out of left field as completely.
You do recognize he was literally an
inviolable.
unknown figure, and he almost beat Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Also, large scale anti-DNC fucking involvement, right? Like, I mean, like, we're going to ignore the DNC.
What's that? Say again.
Pixie?
Yeah, you literally had like the DNC like basically completely against him, as well as like multiple counts of I don't want to say election fraud, but you know, very like shaky, weird things. Like at least like in Arizona, you only had like 6 polling stations open, and when they went to investigate like why that was a deal.
Why are they against him? Why, like, who else is against Bernie?
Because he's not a Democrat.
So, like, all the other Democrats are going to be against him too, then?
In
Well,
2015,
No, but the establishment, the establishment Democrats are of course against a person who has for his entire life not been a Democrat. Of course, they're fucking against him.
Oh, I got it.
Like-
So it sounds to me like he's not going to be able to pass fuck all if everyone's against
no,
him.
this is wrong. This is because the party has shifted left. Dan,
Oh,
Yeah.
Really? Doesn't seem like it. It seems like we have, like, who is it? Omar and the other ones that barely fucking won in Democratic
hold on.
stronghold.
You're wrong.
Wow.
Look, if you add up the total number of progressive candidates right now in the primaries, that number beats out like the people voting for
What, better than it
Warren
was?
and
Okay,
voting
sure, it
for
was better than it
Bernie
was.
outweighs Biden. So that is the majority of the currently polled voters in the Democratic primary. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Okay.
Also,
first
yeah, I
of
mean,
all-
like, so many people on the Democrat stage right now have like adopted like stuff from Bernie from like 20.
Biden has
Yeah.
literally moved quite significantly
So
left
many moves
compared to
like
what
that,
he was
like-
before.
And that's a good thing. I think that listen, I would
Thanks,
have
Pixie.
no problem with Bernie coming in and being the candidate. I think that'd be great. I just think that it's unlikely, and I don't think he can pass any of this stuff. That doesn't mean I don't agree with most of his views, because I do. Okay, I just want to put that out there. If you're getting the wrong idea, I'm just trying to be practical and realistic about the idea that this guy has a very slim chance to getting the nomination. And if he does,
Wait,
get the
but
nomination,
why?
he's
But
still
we're
right.
also trying to be practical,
but
which is
okay,
why we
you're-
think
No, you're not.
Bernie
You're
should
putting your
be.
head in the
You're
sand
coming in
and
and
saying
saying
it
why-
doesn't matter.
no, no, but
Slim
why?
chance or
No, no.
chance.
Oh, wait.
And provide reasons why. You're like, well, I just feel like that's just like not.
No,
real,
no, but
right?
but
Like, I'm like,
here, I think it's more important to ask why. Like, why do you feel the need to be practical in a Democratic primary? Do you like if you would want him as the nominee? Why are you not like in a public forum rather than for content's sake? right? Like not supporting him, right? Not like in belief of his viability, because when people say things,
because it's
people
a dream.
listen.
It's a dream. I want these things, but I know that they can't happen. That's the whole thing.
But based on,
I'll give you an example. If there's a candidate who said it was Yang, why don't I like Yang? That's $1,000 a month because it's not going to happen. Why don't I want Yang 2.0? Is going to be $2,000 a month.
For a lot of other reasons.
Can I ask this
it's not
though?
practical. It's politics. It doesn't work.
I've been thinking about this for a bit actually, because like I understand that Bernie is asking for like a lot more than example like even Warren is or Biden is. But so obviously he campaigns on this, right? And so there is then this chance, you know, that we then can get his policies passed. Not a guarantee, of course, but there's a chance. And so let's say that he can't get that pure policy that he ran on passed. Why is he not able to then pass the exact same legislation that, for example, Biden ran on? Right?
He's not apparently he's not as good of a politician as Biden. Biden's passing bills. Biden's worked in the government, done a lot of shit. Bernie, for the most part.
No, hold on. No. Because why do we think that Bernie cannot?
Because he hasn't.
But he
in his
has.
career.
What do you mean? He would be the
The
president.
reason why Amazon, the reason why Disney are paying like any of their employees $15 an hour right now is because of Bernie Sanders. The reason why we have like, you know, a veterans bill passed is like low key, like has to do back with Bernie Sanders. Like almost all our policies, like right now, I'm not going to say, oh, they're all Bernie Sanders, right? But to this idea that he hasn't influenced the government at all, I think is just like, you know,
no, it's bizarre.
Yeah, I guess I just disagree. I would rather have someone whose lifelong career has essentially been an effective politician versus someone who's just going to promise the fucking stars and hope that it comes together with no meaningful plan to making it happen.
But what do you mean? Like Bernie also have passed all the major legislation that the Democrats have passed in the past 15 years.
Okay, like you literally just said like, oh well, I just want someone who's like showcases that they can do stuff and like against like in comparison to someone who like showcases that like they have like promises all stuff. But literally, people here have just presented to you examples of when Bernie Sanders has managed or succeeded to be able to get policies in place and stuff as a way of showcasing that like his aim for the stars is maybe not quite so like phrased in such a biased manner as the way that you're doing here. And also what Biden stuff.
That is completely incorrect. This is aim for the fucking stars 2.0. Okay, and I mean otherwise. Essentially, the counteract to how this isn't is we'll print money. Well, sure, let's just do everything like printing money. If that's the case, then sure, it's totally doable. If you think that Bernie Sanders can make it that the government can just literally fucking print trillions of dollars every year, then sure, fuck it, let's do it. Why not? I don't think that that's very likely to happen. Personally, I think it's fucking no chance of happening. But aside from that, it doesn't seem very likely to
Wait, so what is your objection to? Is your objection
My objection is
hold on. I want to give you the two options. Is it the fiscal reality of implementing those policies, or is it passing the Senate?
I'm looking first and foremost for a candidate who has ideals that I align with. Bernie would be the one that I would most align with. Second off, past that, I would be looking for political efficacy. Someone who has the ability to pass things. And I balance these two things together. Bernie, I'm most aligned with, but I think he has zero chance of pushing a lot of the stuff he has into being law. Biden, I don't have a lot in common with him. It's mostly going back to a state of normalcy. Whatever. It's boring, but I'm pretty goddamn sure that he can get it done. And it's a safe alternative to what we have with Trump right now.
Do you not think the way that the Republican Party has shifted, that they're literally just going to label Biden a socialist as well?
That's the take I'm looking for, Rome. Thank you.
I don't understand how. Yeah.
What was Biden? Look at what happened in the Obama years.
Yeah, I mean, Look at how hard it was to pass Obamacare, right? Do you think they're going to let Biden pass any of what he has through? Like, do you think it's ever going to happen?
It comes down to if you can. So, do I think Biden has a better shot than Bernie? Yes. There you go.
Why? We know that.
Why do you think that though?
They struggle
because he does.
Yeah, because he does. Because he's been a better.
Look, what about the last 4 years of the Obama administration?
Okay, you guys are going back. Why don't we go with counts of working with the other side? Let's see how many times Joe Biden over his career
that's different. That's different. That isn't, because that's not what we're concerned about. We're concerned about the ability.
I can't argue with this then. Basically, it's like I'm trying to say one of these guys is a better politician. He's worked with the other side hundreds of times, gotten bills passed, gotten shit done. The other one's done 4 times and barely a Democrat and is be going against all the establishment.
Wait, but wouldn't it be more pragmatic to see how like recent Democratic presidents interact with? Wouldn't it be more pragmatic?
Why are we limiting? Okay, 10, 15 years. Yes, I would say Biden's been more efficacious. than Bernie.
What showcases
I'd have
do you
to
have?
go through. I'd have to spend more time going through and getting out a fucking.
He was
PDF for
VP.
Or not just
some of that,
that,
yeah.
right? Let's be clear here. You were talking about how you
all
just
of
like
that.
Bernie Sanders because he's
Almost.
promising these things, and obviously he's not going to be able to deliver them as they say. But you think Biden can deliver what he says. So let's look at what bills he's proposed that he hasn't shifted on either. Okay, like this is double party.
I'm not saying he might not have to shift, but I'm saying there's a chance he won't. I'm saying he might be able to offer something to the Republicans to get it exactly how it is. He might get his exact health plan as it is today by working through Republicans saying, you know what, I'm going to put in a new mandate.
You really think?
Hold on.
You could say the same thing about Bernie Sanders. Though. Bernie Sanders could.
They almost repealed Obamacare, Dan.
What?
Dan, they almost repealed Obamacare.
Yeah, they almost did. I agree. That's bad.
You think that these people are going to be on board with any sort of expansion of Obamacare?
It's give or take in being a politician.
I think that we go with momentum, we go with energy.
I will not disagree that Democrats are the worst. Republicans
we need the
are way
people
better
that are
at
going to
being
get a
politicians
turnout
than
in the
Democrats.
Senate.
Democrats
Biden is not going to inspire people to go out and turn out and elect new people to the Senate. Bernie will.
I think that's the entire argument,
I
right? Like that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You have to
What do you
energize
mean you
the middle
disagree?
percentages.
You think that Biden is going to churn out massive numbers of people?
No,
to
I don't.
whoever can
I
fit
think
the
that
Senate?
old people
We
will
want to talk
come
about
vote for
this
Biden,
wave
and
thing,
they
right? Like
won't
we
for
can
Bernie.
look back to how.
You think that old people will suddenly stop churning out in a way that they never have in history?
I don't think they want. Yeah, I don't think that old people.
They've never done that. Old people always fucking vote.
Hey,
This is ridiculous, Dan. Don't die on this hill. Don't die on
Dude,
this
they're
hill.
definitely, dude. If Bernie gets nominated, then they're going to vote for him. Like if they're being like left people.
Oh
I'm
my
not sure
God.
you could see.
Dan,
you know what? Bernie could push more people to the right than
Bernie
ever.
is also
That could actually be a
old.
fact.
They literally can see that he's
The opposition is Trump.
Yeah,
You
but
think
if
that
the
establishment
opportunity is
Democrats are going to vote for Trump?
Listen to
What do you
yourself.
think
If the
is-
opportunity is pushed by Republicans, that it's either you can vote for Trump or a socialist who's going to raise your taxes.
They're going to vote for the socialists because they're not crazy.
You are. So
All right, I want to get
wrong.
Gushin's take.
I don't know how.
Yeah, and then we might jump topics here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gushin.
So okay, so like two things here. Like the first thing, like I've literally provided examples to you of this concept of like the Democrat voter, the Republican voter are people that regardless of what happens will end up voting for that party regardless of who's in charge of what Democrat. Like these are like the statistical like polls, this kind of thing, like going back to 2016, right? With like thing like, and this isn't me saying this kind of like you can go and look up like my best bet for you would be go look up Steve Bannon's thing about this. He literally talks about this when he's talking about his plan for Donald Trump going into that election, right? Was he knew that like there were people that would vote for Trump who would vote for Trump regardless of what the fuck Trump did. So it was like pointless to like even think about them, right? That's where a lot of the Democrats fall into. It's the same kind of boat, right? They'll end up voting for the Democrat candidate regardless of who the fuck it is at the end of the day, right? Like they're not going to matter. It's the people that like in that like I said the middle bit again. And you want to look at like a recent example of that middle bit being a thing to push like Democrat like a newish wave of Democrat people through. Look at the House of Rep thing recently from like 2 years ago, right? That was a large scale change in like the representation of like who the Democrats were putting into power, right? There was a ton of those like younger voters coming out, a ton of younger candidates who had a much more radical leftist agenda as far as it went coming into power kind of thing. Like you want to that kind of thing? Like there's an example of that.
With the stuff I saw earlier, and my memory's fuzzy, I did not see any statistical difference with the voter turnout for that of younger people. But if you have data, I'd be interested to see it. But I think that's complete bullshit.
Yeah, I don't think that's really true, actually.
I mean, we can make up stuff on the fly if we want, but I haven't heard nothing about young people switching with the House election. Anyway, go ahead.
But I think that's largely because, honestly, young people don't give a shit about anything other than a presidential election. So you need someone running for the president who will, like, really put almost all of their energy into not only, so, like, really just highlight as part of their message that we need the Senate in order to do
that's
what
the
we
only
want.
effective strategy at this juncture. Otherwise, getting a Democratic president elected is totally pointless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Let's talk some philosophy, eh?
I don't know about that.
Please.
What's the next topic, Leon?
Voter turnout in the election for the Democrat House of Reps thing was 50.3%, the highest it's been since 1914.
Yeah, that's
so like that voter turnout was like
much
like
what was the increase?
You're talking about young
massively, right?
Yeah, we're talking about young people specifically.
It was 19 in 2014. It was 19%.
Wow.
So in 2014, it was 19%, and it was 33%.
Where can I see these stats?
Here, one sec. Let me get the links.
14% increase. It's not bad.
36% in 2018. Yeah, so it went from 20 to 36. Census.gov.
Wow, that's pretty good, actually. I take it back.
Yeah.
It's not great, but it's good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna post it
especially
in.
on
It's
a
fine.
I just got a source as well.
It's fine.
on a non-presidency year. Like, I think that's pretty amazing.
It's not good numbers, but it's a damn good increase, right? It's over 50% increase.
Massive,
right?
yeah,
Like,
it's huge.
So it's insanely high, like relative to the alternative.
And
right.
on a non-presidential year as well. Like a lot of people don't go vote when it's not a.
But I think that was largely just opposition to Trump rather than embracement of leftist policies, maybe. I think that could be the response.
And that can be the unifying
True.
message in 2020 as well. I mean, it doesn't have to just be a 2018 thing.
Right.
There's a general increase across the board from 2014 to 2018, right?
Oh wait, this is everyone had a higher turnout. Yeah, I mean, yes, it was a very highly contested thing.
Well, particularly, I mean,
proportional
that
to
young
original
age
turnout's
group
what we
does
should be
have
looking
the
for,
biggest
right?
increase, though, right? So
But
it
about
is,
how
it is
much?
noticeable.
Yeah, we should be looking at overall change and increase in turnout, right? Not about.
Sure.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to give something like the young people shifted the vote, but that's very much not the case.
No,
I mean, yes.
obviously not. I don't. How could you interpret that? You know, their
I mean,
statements
well,
like
that's what I was saying is that the young people basically put people in for the House, and that's not the case. They just came out like everyone
Well, yeah,
else.
but
That's
the reality that a 50% increase in that like demographic is definitely gonna have some we don't know like the specific impact. You have to like actually go into that and like do some serious fucking math, but right like and have the statistics available to you. But in the absence of them, we can agree that that's a pretty big fucking deal that the left being energized, if that were to be the case, like hypothetically.
Sure,
Right,
and also
like, that is a
regardless
big
of the
fucking
fact of like the increase in the youth vote, like sure, like I'm gonna yeah, I'll concede at that point maybe that wasn't the biggest possible change, that kind of thing. But ultimately speaking, the point that it was making behind that still stands, which was that there was a large swing to Democrat seats in a much more radical, who had much more radical / left agendas, in a huge swing like House Representative wise.
I thought there was like a bunch of states that
a large vote.
we didn't even win that we were expected to win for that. I understand that
I'm pretty sure Democrats went up like 50 fucking seats or something ridiculous, isn't they? Like
No, they
like,
did. They
so
took
many.
a lot of seats, but there was a lot. Like we could have taken the Senate as well. I mean, there was a chance if their motivation was truly there to do it. I'm not saying it wasn't remarkable that we did it, but I'm saying it could have been more. It doesn't really. I mean, it was just hatred towards Trump.
From what I read, and I have to refresh my memory, so I'm hesitant to say this. Like all the predictions were that the Democrats were not going to get the Senate because hashtag gerrymandering, like the positions that were there already, as well as like the way that I guess the same thing as gerrymandering or whatever, but the way the district maps were like drawn up. I mean, I can find analysis for you later, but that's my memory of it. I remember just reading everywhere that was like probably will take the House, not the Senate.
Okay, I'd like to just sign off of this as saying once again, before fucking 12 YouTube videos are made by all of you in here, that I am very much most aligned.
What do you mean YouTube video? You think I YouTube videos? You think I have the energy to do that?
Sorry, I'm shocked from the surf.
I'm literally editing it right now as we speak.
If I make a video of like, oh my god, beat Dan in crazy debate, all my comments are gonna be like, who? Like, what do you mean? You're not.
Yeah, I normally focus on like interesting topics. This seems like.
All right, everybody clap for that joke. All right, there we go.
Thank
good one,
you.
Rems. Got him.
Yes. Also, can we talk about communism now?
Oh.